After securing their first victory of the 2025 NBC World Series, the Hayes Larks will now look to secure a spot in bracket play as they get set to take on the Oklahoma MVP. And with that, we welcome you into our coverage of tonight's game on the campus of Wichita State University at X Stadium. Alongside me tonight is Eli Blankenship, and I'm Hank Corsair. And when teams start postseason play, it's always a mystery for how they're going to play and what their competition will look like. And now that the Larks have a game under their belt here in Wichita, they now know what to expect for the remainder of the pool play and what it's like to play as the defending champs. In that first game against the Seattle Blackfins, they showed off some skills at both the plate and the mound and were able to get a win in a close game situation. And while both teams are trying to get a win, they're doing so with two different attitudes and approaches. The MVP are now in a must-win attitude because they suffered a devastating loss yesterday against the Lone Star Kraken and are now facing potential elimination. But for the Larks, they are looking for their 30th win of the season, which would give them a guaranteed spot in the bracket. So it should be an exciting matchup as pool play continues between the Hayes Larks and the Oklahoma MVP in the third game of around-the-clock baseball. And our pregame show coverage will continue next. We'll have Eli Blankenship on to talk about tonight's game, and we'll also do our opponent breakdown. We'll be back in a moment. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to Wichita, Kansas on the pregame shows. The Larks get set to take on the Oklahoma MVP in the third game of around-the-clock baseball, and we're now pleased to be joined by Eli Blankenship, who will be doing the color commentary for tonight's game. Eli, how are you doing?
Doing great. Well, now I'm doing great, now that my mic is working. I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to seeing how well the Larks perform here today against the MVP, and they've played some great baseball so far this season. We saw them really show up and show out against the Blackfins, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to be able to use that game and kind of use that as momentum to kind of propel them forward into bracket play.
Yeah, it was a great game as well. The Larks jumped out to the early lead and got to their biggest point at 6-2 in the fifth inning, but the Blackfins didn't go away very easily. They made a strong push late into the game, but the Larks prevailed in the end, and it's great to see how they respond in those close game situations.
It is. And I think it's really a testament to their determination and their grit, especially when you get into those late game close battles and you get to that 7th, 8th, 9th inning and you've got close games. That's something that this Larks team hasn't seen a lot of this season, and that allows them to improve not only as players but as a team, and especially going into with their sights set on that championship game, if they want to be able to compete with the best of the best in this tournament, they're going to have to know how to handle those late game situations like they did against the Blackfins.
And we saw some strong performances in that game from returning players from last year's championship team. Looking at Tabor Stokes, he had a 2-run home run in the second inning. Both Caleb Duncan and Wilbert Espinal finished with 2 hits each, and Espinal had an RBI as well. And then Trent Baker was the only player with 2 runs. And then you look at the guys who are new to this team, like Lorenzo Rios, who was the only player to reach base 3 times, and Brooks Jones comes in as a relief pitcher, records 5 strikeouts, and holds the Blackfins to a hit and 2 runs, and he gets the win in his first game in the NBC World Series.
Yeah, and the Larks played excellent. We saw, you talk about Tabor Stokes, he was our undisputed MVP of that game. Not only was he playing lights out on defense, but he also hit a 2-run shot to left field that was just electric. That was really the deciding factor, the kind of the momentum, so to speak, what broke the ice for this Larks squad against the Blackfins, because that Blackfins team was very good. We talked about it before that game. They added players that were MLB prospects, former guys that had been in the minor league systems. That team was pretty stacked. Like we didn't. The team that we saw that the Blackfins brought to the NBC World Series was not the team that they had during the regular season. And so I think that's another really important thing to note, because you look at their record and you say, well, they're not that good, are they? But they are, because that team really loaded up their team to come to the NBC World Series, as many other teams do. And that's exactly what the Larks are going to have to expect against any team that they're going to meet in this tournament.
And you got to think that playing in close games like that, with how dominant performances that the Larks had this entire season, even though they probably wanted to get a blowout win over the Blackfins, it's very important that they play in those close game situations to prepare themselves for bracket play.
Without a doubt. They have to know how to handle those situations, because you said it best. When you get to bracket play, that's when those situations become really pertinent, especially for a team like the Larks, who they didn't load up their roster at the very end of the year. And so, they're playing with their core group of guys, meaning they have to be able to work with the pieces that are already in their system. And so without having to implement new system changes, that's nice. But at the same token, you also have to understand and know how to battle back in those situations as a team, because you said it, this Larks team hasn't seen a lot of those situations this season at all.
And let's talk about the Oklahoma MVP for a second, because they had a tough loss against the Lone Star Kraken, which we'll talk about in just a moment in our opponent breakdown. But they enter this game with a win-win-win attitude, because they're on the brink of elimination right now.
Yeah, this is a must-win for this MVP team. This is a do-or-die game for them. If they want any opportunity of continuing to play in this tournament, they have got to show up to this game tonight against the Larks. They know this Larks team is very talented. They're the defending champs. The Larks have the target on their back, so I'm sure this MVP team is going to come out aggressive, and they're going to come out to play. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see some pretty aggressive base running tonight from this MVP team, just considering runs are going to keep them in this ball game, because they know this Larks offense is very talented.
And we knew that last game was going to be competitive, and you got to wonder what type of approach the Larks are going to take tonight, as they enter as the clear favorite, but at the same time, it's the NBC World Series. You can't take any team for granted.
You absolutely cannot. And we talked to Brady Kreitzer during the regular season, and he said, it's great and all that we won the RMBL, but we got to keep our foot on the gas pedal. We can't ease up. We can't coast, even against those teams that they knew they were just going to absolutely crush. This is the same exact situation here. This is a team where, on paper, they should beat them by quite a bit. In fact, we might even see a run rule tonight. But we don't. This Larks team doesn't want to go into this game thinking that. They want to go into this game thinking this is the best team we've ever played all season, and we got to show up and play the best baseball that we can possibly play.
Always great to talk with Eli before tonight's game, and now it's time for our opponent breakdown. As we take a look at the Oklahoma MVP, as mentioned, they are coming off of a loss in their first game of pool play. That was against the Lone Star Kraken, where the final score was 10-1. The Kraken, the MVP scored their only run in the first inning, and at the end of it, the Kraken won by a run rule in the 8th inning, and the offense struggled a little bit for the MVP. Only 4 players got on base, and 8 of their batters got struck out. And on the pitching, they gave up 10 runs, which all of them were earned. So they had their struggles in that game, but they're going to come back stronger tonight against the Larks. And as we take a look at this team, they don't have a deep history. This is their first NBC World Series appearance. They earned that bid after winning the AABC Stan Musial World Series back on July 19th. And this is a program that comes from the Norman, OKC area. And this their first season was back in 2018. And it's another team that the Larks will be facing that is primarily regional players. They have 27 players on their roster coming into tonight's game, and 21 of them are from the state of Oklahoma. So that's our opponent breakdown, and we'll take another break. If we have time, we will take a look at our starting lineups. Other than that, we'll have first pitch up next. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you all back to X Stadium here on the pregame show as the Larks get set to take on the Oklahoma MVP. And we'll now take a look at our starting lineups. But before we do that, we'll get a quick scoreboard update from the other games going around in pool play here at the NBC World Series. As the Larks had an off day yesterday, we take a look at the scores from that day. All 4 games were run rules. As we mentioned, Lone Star Kraken got a 10-1 win over the Oklahoma MVP. Lone Star Baseball Club got a huge win, a shutout, 11-0 against the BTL Hornets. Hutchison was in a close game with the San Diego Stars, but they pulled through in the end by winning 13-5. And in the end, that game was another run rule, and that was where the rain delay started to come in. And then the final game of the night was the Santa Barbara Foresters defeating the Derby Twins 11-1. And earlier today, the Junction City Brigade defeated TPA Texas 11-7. And just a little bit ago, the Alaska Gold Panthers got a 10-7 win over GPS Texas. So the teams are about to take the field, so we'll run down real quickly with our starting lineups. As we take a look at the Oklahoma MVP, their leadoff batter will be number 6, Rainer Bean, the shortstop. After that, number 8, Ashton Hartwig will bat second in the order. Batting third is the first baseman, number 2, Tanner Norman. The fourth batter will be the left fielder who had the only hit in yesterday's game against the Lone Star Kraken, that is Carson Miller. The fifth batter will be the catcher, that is number 13, Graham Hilton. Number 19, Connor Kavner will bat sixth in the lineup, and the final 3 batters will feature number 10, Hutch Russell, number 11, Eli Hill, and number 29, Brand Wilson. And looking at the Larks, this is what their starting lineup will look like. In right field will be number 8, Lane Sparks as the leadoff batter. Tabor Stokes is returning to the shortstop position. He will bat second. Brady Kreitzer makes his first appearance in the NBC World Series with the Larks, playing in left field tonight, batting third. Wilbert Espinal returns to the DH spot, but he moves up to fourth in the order. And after that, Dylan LaRue will play catcher. He will be batting fifth in the order. Thomas Lissy playing at third base will bat sixth. Paul Smith, the first baseman, will bat seventh. Caleb Duncan will be playing in center field once again. He will bat eighth. And the final batter in the order will be the second baseman, C.J. Reed. And taking a look at our pitching matchup for tonight's game, the start for the Oklahoma MVP will go to number 30, Tate Dome. And for the Larks, in his fourth start of the season, will be number 2, Trent Baker. And he will put his 4-0 record to the test tonight. So that's going to do it for our pregame show coverage, and we will have first pitch up next. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to Wichita, Kansas, as we are about set for first pitch between the Hayes Larks and the Oklahoma MVP. If the Larks win, they will secure a spot in the bracket, and Oklahoma is in a must-win attitude, as we've talked about, they're on the brink of elimination, but they're a competitive team. They will try to stick with the Larks tonight as they get set to deliver the first pitch coming from number 30, Tate Dome. He delivers his fastball right down the middle for strike one against number 8, Lane Sparks. And our first pitch tonight comes 54 minutes after the original scheduled time of 6 o'clock. It is 6:54 here in Wichita, 91 degrees at first pitch, and sunny, currently feels like 95 with 8-mile-per-hour winds. The count is now 1-1 to the right fielder, who had a 1-for-5 performance in yesterday's game. And again, Tate Dome continuing to use his fastball as the count is now tied at 2-1. Tate Dome is a freshman from Laverne, Oklahoma that played at Murray State Community College this last season. Made 17 appearances on the mound as well as 11 starts, putting together a 4-3 record. And now he faces a 2-2 count against Lane Sparks. The Larks leader in runs and stolen bases on the season, who enters with a .369 average. The catcher wants the pitch on the outside. Sparks will take a swing at this one. The third baseman, Russell, will run after it, but this one's going to land out of play next to the medical tent by the Larks dugout. And the count will stay at 2-2.
Yeah, it crashed down on top of that tent there, just landing just out of play. We know that Lane Sparks is a very talented hitter. He is probably one of the best hitters in this lineup to be in the position that he's in at that leadoff spot because of how quick he is. He's able to pick up bases even when he probably shouldn't be able to, or he's able to pick up base hits for that matter even when he probably shouldn't be able to. And so that's why he is where he is at in that lineup.
He will face a full count after ball 3 misses on a changeup to the left side of the plate. And Dome delivers the payoff pitch, and it catches the inside, and there is the first out of the game.
Well, if you're looking to set the tone, set the tempo, that's the way to do it. Tate Dome with a nice-looking pitch there to strike out Sparks at the top of the order.
Next up for the Larks in his 33rd game of the year is number 6, Tabor Stokes, the sophomore playing at Ball State next season. He's played 2 seasons of JUCO baseball, freshman year at Butler, sophomore season at Hutchinson. His first pitch goes up high and is called ball 1. Here is the defensive alignment for the Oklahoma MVP. In left field is number 40, Carson Miller. The center fielder is number 8, Ashton Hartwig, and in right field is number 29, Brand Wilson. We'll take a look at the infield in just a second as the pitch gets delivered. It's a fly ball into center field. Hartwig is going to be the one that runs after it, and it gets there in time to make the catch, and there's now 2 away.
Well, so far this MVP team looks pretty solid. They've done a nice job at keeping composed. We know they had that pretty big loss yesterday, and they're going to have to be able to do their best to try and work back from that. That is something that is so crucial in the game of baseball. You have to move on from that loss, especially a loss that is that big of a margin that they lost against the Kraken.
Brady Kreitzer on this first pitch gets a hit, and the shortstop Bean couldn't field it in time, but he'll throw down to first base, and it's not in time. Brady Kreitzer is safe. On his first pitch of the 2025 NBC World Series, he gets a hit to the shortstop, and he couldn't field it in time, and he is the first runner on base for the Larks.
Well, you can't give Brady Kreitzer any extra time. That guy is a speedy dude. I've never seen a player that reads the field as well as he does at this level. And so Kreitzer right there recognized the air was there, and he turned on the afterburners and got his way onto first base.
We'll see if Wilbert Espinal can continue this 2-out rally as he is up to bat. 4th in the order tonight after a 2-for-5 performance against the Seattle Blackfins. He recorded an RBI double and a single, and he starts with a 1-0 count. Kreitzer takes a big lead off first base. Covering is number 2, Tanner Norman. And another pitch goes outside for ball 2. Here's the infield alignment for the Oklahoma MVP. Hutch Russell is the third baseman. Next to him at shortstop is number 6, Rainer Bean. The second baseman will be number 11, Eli Hill. And at first base is number 2, Tanner Norman. And the catcher will be number 13, Graham Hilton. Throw back to first base, and it's not in time, but that was a very close play as Kreitzer slides back safely.
Yeah, Kreitzer had a pretty big lead off of first base. He'll have to watch that pretty carefully if Tate Dome's going to continue to try to pick him off there off of first.
The count is 2-0 to the designated hitter from Alabama State. And Espinal now ahead 3-0 as he watches another one go to the outside. After Espinal, it'll be Dylan LaRue and Thomas Lissy up to bat for the Larks as there's currently 2 outs here in the top of the first inning. The Larks are the decided away team for the second game in a row. And we're going to get a time called by the home plate umpire, and they'll return back to action.
Yeah, he was saying something to pitcher Tate Dome. I couldn't make out what he was saying from up here, but it sounded like he was trying to have a conversation with him or trying to point something out to him.
Dome sends his fastball right down the middle for strike one to Wilbert Espinal. In his arsenal, Dome mixes in a fastball, a slider, and a changeup. His fastball maxes out at 90 miles per hour. And he's looking to get another out right here to retire the side. He sends the 3-1 to the plate, and it misses outside. Espinal will watch it go by, and the Larks now have runners at first and second base.
Well, see if they can't put together a little 2-out rally here. We've seen it many a time this season where the Larks have been able to really rally the batters, rally the batting order for that matter, with 2 outs on the board. And this Larks team has talented hitters on this squad, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see maybe a run driven in here in this first inning.
Next up is the junior from Blanco, Texas. That is Dylan LaRue returning to the catching position. He is one of 3 Larks tonight that wasn't featured in the order against the Blackfins. He starts with a 1-0 count. LaRue enters this game with a .284 average and a .964 OPS. As Dome delivers the next pitch, this one's going to be sent over to the second baseman Hill, and on a fielder's choice, he'll give a toss over to Bean at the shortstop, and there is out number 3. After 2 outs started the inning, the Larks were able to get 2 runners on base with Brady Kreitzer and Wilbert Espinal, but the 3rd out is recorded on a fielder's choice. So we now go to the bottom half of the first inning. We'll be back in a minute. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Back here at X Stadium in Wichita, Kansas, as we get set for the bottom half of the first inning. Making the start on the mound tonight for the Larks is number 2, Trent Baker. Start number 5 for him on the year, putting his 4-0 record to the test against the Oklahoma MVP. And on the first pitch, it's a line drive up the middle, and it rolls over to Caleb Duncan. It's a leadoff single for the shortstop, Rainer Bean.
Well, if they're trying to bounce back from that loss yesterday, that's the way to do it. You got to start off with positive. The best thing you can do after taking a hard loss like that is just try to get your mental right. I think one of the biggest things that people tend to overlook in all of sports is the mental side of playing a sport, and especially in baseball where you're going up to the plate and there's a really good chance you're not going to get on base because it is one of the hardest things to do across all sports is to hit a baseball.
0-1 count to the next batter up, Ashton Hartwig, as Baker delivers the next pitch. Puts the fastball outside for ball 1. Current batter for the MVP is number 8, Ashton Hartwig, the freshman from Johnson County Community College. He's got some postseason experience coming into this tournament. Played in the JUCO World Series and now an error as Paul Smith covering first base lets the ball get away from him. And Rainer Bean on a fielding error will advance over to second base. Both teams have one error to start the game as Rainer Bean moves over to second base. The count is 1-1 to Ashton Hartwig. Baker takes a look at second, sends the pitch to the plate, and this one will be a pop fly as Paul Smith runs in on it. In foul territory, he will come back into the field of play, and he makes the catch for out number 1.
Well, that was certainly a much-needed out as the Larks have one in scoring position that they're going to have to try to hold at least on second or third to avoid letting up any runs here early in the first inning. This Larks team very rarely plays from behind. We've seen how high-powered their offense is, and so the Larks aren't going to want to get behind if they can help it in this ball game, as it's not really familiar territory for them.
Trent Baker will start with a 1-0 count against the first baseman Tanner Norman. He had the only RBI for the MVP in their game against the Lone Star Kraken. Working with Rainer Bean over at second base as the next pitch goes to the plate. Misses down low, and the count is now 2-0. Here is the Larks defensive alignment for tonight's game. Brady Kreitzer will be playing in left field. Caleb Duncan returns to center field, and Lane Sparks is once again in right field. Next pitch ties the count up at 2-1 in the high part of the zone as Norman watched it go by. Thomas Lissy is at third for the Larks. Paul Smith, who came in as a defensive substitute for Jackson Babcock, is at first base. Tabor Stokes will once again play shortstop, and C.J. Reed at second. And the catcher for tonight is number 26, Dylan LaRue. After a foul ball for Norman that goes into the net behind home plate, the count moves to 2-2.
Well, the runner on second, he made a pretty big jump off of second base. Trent Baker looked back right before he delivered the pitch, and I think that kind of persuaded him to go back to second.
And a swing and a miss on a foul tip, and there is the second out of the inning. Trent Baker able to record strikeout number 31 on the season, and there's now 2 away here in the bottom of the first inning.
Well, although Trent Baker really hasn't seen a whole lot of action on the mound this season, he's made every one of his mound appearances count for this Larks squad, and you see him doing that here tonight.
Next batter is Carson Miller, who sends a foul ball back up to the third floor up here where some fans are sitting in the sweep boxes. He starts the count off 0-1. Carson Miller is a sophomore from Coffeyville Community College. They'll be playing at the Division II level next season at Northeastern State down in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Count now moves to 1-1 for the left fielder. He had the only hit of the last game for the MVP, and he gets hit by a pitch on the inside and will go over to first base.
So I've got a little factoid for you guys about Northeastern State. They used to be a part of the MIAA. They just left the MIAA, primarily due to the competitiveness of the MIAA. They're trying to rebuild some of their programs, athletic programs, but they just left the MIAA. But that is an opponent that Fort Hays State very frequently plays, so I'm sure Brady Kreitzer's actually gotten the opportunity to play against him.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that they left the MIAA, so you're telling me that for the first time.
Yep, well, at least in football. I don't know about all the other sports, but I know for sure in football they've left the MIAA. I'd have to look it up on the other sports on what the full, down to the, rim analysis is on that.
0-1 count to Graham Hilton. He hits a line drive foul into the Larks bullpen, and he is now down 0-2.
This is a tough spot to be in. 0-2, 2 outs, especially against a guy like Trent Baker. Baker doesn't leave anything over the plate unless he absolutely has to.
And a swing and a miss on an 0-2 count in the high part of the zone. There is 3 away in the bottom of the first inning. Just like the Larks, the MVP were able to get runners on second and first base, but leave both of them stranded, and it's now time for the top of the second inning. Thomas Lissy, Paul Smith, and Caleb Duncan will be up next for the Larks. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Back here in Wichita, Kansas, as we start the top half of the second inning. Oklahoma got one hit and left 2 on base in the bottom of the first inning, and now we'll see what the Larks can do. As Thomas Lissy comes up to bat, facing off against Tate Dome, the starter from Murray State Community College. Lissy was 1 for 5 in the last game with a single. And the first pitch is sent his way, just missing on the low inside corner for strike one, or for ball 1. The infielders on the right side playing a little bit further to the grass for the MVP as the next pitch goes to the plate. Once again, they're trying to get it on the inside. The count goes to 2-0 for Thomas Lissy. Currently 7-11 here in Wichita. The game was supposed to start at 6, but due to the game before this going on for quite a while, it has the start time tonight was 6:54. Either way, there's a great showing tonight here from the Larks faithful on the third base side. They have made the 2.5-hour trip down to Wichita, and they are representing the Hayes Larks strong. 2-1 count goes to the plate, and it's low and outside this time. 3-1 now to the third baseman. Tate Dome pitched in 17 games this last season at Murray State Community College, where he started in 11. And he will walk Thomas Lissy as this one goes on the high outside corner for ball 4. Second batter to walk in this game, along with Wilbert Espinal for the Larks. And that brings up the Rice Owl, Paul Smith. He is playing first base tonight after he made an appearance in 1 inning against the Seattle Blackfins. Back in the 9th, he came in as a substitute for Jackson Babcock, who was the starter at first base. And he helped the Larks pull through, winning by 1 run. Batting in the left-handed batter's box, the pitch goes to the plate, and it goes down the middle for strike 1.
Well, and we've seen Paul Smith, Lorenzo Rios, Dylan LaRue. They kind of have a rotation going on with their catchers to kind of save their body. Playing catcher is a very physically tolling position in baseball, and so for this Lark squad, having those 3 catchers to be able to rotate in and out in different positions has been really helpful for the longevity of their team.
Line drive hit here by Paul Smith goes into left field, and making the catch is number 40, Carson Miller, for the first out. That'll bring up the center fielder, Caleb Duncan, who is in familiar territory. He just played his first season here at Wichita State with the Shockers, which is technically his second season of Division I baseball after he was a redshirt at UNLV in 2023. But this was his first full season at the Division I level.
He's one of the only guys in this tournament that has a home field advantage, as majority of these teams are from out of town. Caleb Duncan, one of the few that is a Wichita State baseball player. I'm curious to actually know if there's any other Wichita State baseball players in this tournament. I'd be curious to know that. I'm sure we can figure that out at some point. But as far as we know, Caleb Duncan is one of the only ones.
I unfortunately wouldn't have the time to do that amount of research on all the teams, so I guess we'll never know exactly. 1-0 count to Caleb Duncan, who had 2 base hits against the Seattle Blackfins. Working with Thomas Lissy over at first base. Next pitch, he uses his slider, and it goes outside for strike 1, catching the corner. Duncan played in 41 games this last season at Wichita State, recording 20 hits and 11 runs, and he also had 15 RBIs on the year as well. He watches the next pitch go by for ball 2, tying the count up. And entering this game, Duncan has a .363 average on the year. He will send one over to the shortstop, Bean, who runs up on it, and will just throw down to first base as Thomas Lissy now stands at second, and there is 2 away.
Well, if the Larks can manage to drive in a run here, that'd be really awesome for them to be able to start to propel their way up in the scoreboard in terms of the scoring column, because we've seen it before. If this Larks team can get ahead early, their confidence just goes out the roof. We've seen it time and time again where they score 2 or 3 runs within the first couple innings, and it just kind of snowballs from there, allowing them to kind of loosen up a little bit and play the baseball that we know they know how to play.
C.J. Reed, the final batter in the order for the Larks, now up as he fouls off the first pitch, starting the count off 0-1. He played in the first game against the Seattle Blackfins, and he's one of the players was going to be interesting to see for this entire week down here in Wichita how he plays, because he only played in one game last season when the Larks won the title, and he made 4 appearances at the plate against the Blackfins.
Well, he's certainly taken on a more demanding role now. C.J. Reed is almost always in the lineup for this Larks team, and especially this season. And so we'll see how much he comes up for this Larks squad here in Wichita, as he's really had quite a great season for this Larks team.
1 ball and 2 strikes after Reed fouls off a pitch into the net. He has Thomas Lissy over at second base, the second Lark in scoring position in tonight's game. Again, the right side of the infield for the MVP will play close to the grass. That's Eli Hill and Tanner Norman. And a looking strikeout will be the end of the inning. So the Larks leave 1 runner stranded after Thomas Lissy was walked, and they will return to the top of their order in the top of the 3rd. But for now, we go to the bottom of the 2nd, where Connor Kavner, the designated hitter for the MVP, will lead things off when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Back here at X Stadium as we start the bottom of the 2nd inning, with the inning being led off by the designated hitter Connor Kavner. And he starts with a 1-0 count against Trent Baker in his 5th start of the season. He'll put that one in the low part of the zone on the next pitch, moving the count to 1-1. Against number 19, Connor Kavner, another freshman for this Oklahoma MVP team from Johnson County Community College. He'll hit a chopper down the 3rd base line, and Thomas Lissy couldn't quite get a hold of it. And the MVP have another runner on base at first to start the inning.
Those can be very deceivingly difficult plays to make for infielders. The ball comes in so slow, and because of the way that it's hit, it makes it almost difficult to read. And for Lissy, he ran at that ball so fast that it was so hard for him to get his glove up underneath that ball to be able to make that play.
And right away on the very next pitch, Hutch Russell in between C.J. Reed and Paul Smith will get a hit to the outfield, putting runners at 1st and 2nd with no outs. Back-to-back base hits now for the Oklahoma MVP, and now they bring up Eli Hill. If the Larks would have started Dalton Campbell tonight, we'd have 2 college teammates going at it right here, as Eli Hill just played his sophomore season at Oklahoma City, where he played in 29 games, finishing with 10 hits and 6 runs. He will step into the box on the right-hand side and await his first pitch. He works with Connor Kavner at 2nd and Hutch Russell at 1st. First pitch is high and outside for ball 1 to the 2nd baseman. This is Eli Hill's first appearance in this tournament. On a 1-0 count, the Larks infielders are going to play closer from the corners as he shows bunt. Another pitch goes outside for ball 2.
Larks have really got to lock it down here on defense with runners on first and second. Things are starting to get a little bit dangerous here. They're going to let up some runs here if they can't get something figured out.
And a bunt. This one will land in front of the plate, and they're going to say that it's a foul ball.
I think there's some sort of rule in baseball, and I could be wrong on this, but the ball has to travel a certain amount of distance. But I think because Dylan LaRue played that ball, they're actually going to give it to him. And so now the bases will be loaded.
A fly ball here by Brand Wilson. Stokes backs up for it, and sliding in and making the catch is Brady Kreitzer. Oh, no, it got away from him. And he will just throw it in. And striking first in tonight's game is the Oklahoma MVP as Connor Kavner crosses home plate.
Well, you can run all the what ifs if all the what ifs you want in that situation that LaRue was put in on that bunt that kind of led to this. But he probably shouldn't have grabbed that ball in that situation, but because of just the way that play developed, it was just pure reaction for him to grab that ball to be able to throw the ball over to whatever base he needed to get it to. And so while, yes, you let up a run here, you still have to have faith in your offense. This team that has the Larks have a very high-powered offense. I don't think they need to start worrying too much just yet.
Still no outs as we go back to the top of the Oklahoma order with Rainer Bean, who hits a ball over to Tabor Stokes, slips it to C.J. Reed with his glove, and back over to first base, but the play is not made in time. And on a fielder's choice, Rainer Bean records an RBI, and it's a 2-0 MVP lead.
Well, the MVP get a run and an out there on that particular play, and the Larks are going to have their work cut out for them here going into the top of the third with, being down 2+ runs now going into the third inning. That's going to be some unfamiliar territory they're going to be in.
This one's hit over to Thomas Lissy, who will just toss it over to second, and the Larks can't turn a double play this time once again as Hartwig reaches first on a fielder's choice. But Rainer Bean is out, and Eli Hill scores from third, and the MVP lead at 3-0. Third in the order is number 2, Tanner Norman for the MVP. The freshman from Murray State Community College that is in his second season with the MVP. Finished with a very impressive resume last season stat-wise with a .484 average and an .802 slugging percentage to go with a .590 on-base percentage. 0-1 count to Norman. He was struck out on a foul tip on a 2-2 count in his first appearance. And the next pitch goes inside for ball 1. A throwback to first base. Once again, it gets away from Paul Smith, but coming in to stop it is number 1, C.J. Reed.
Well, and Paul Smith actually kind of stood in the base path there to try to get out of the way of the ball after he kind of saw it go past him. He was trying to turn his body so that he'd be able to receive the throw from the outfield, but he actually kind of got in the way of the runner there. I'm surprised he didn't get called for interference. He got kind of lucky there on that one.
Norman fouls the next pitch over to the dugout on the first base side where the MVP are. And on the scoreboard, the count is listed at 2-2. Same count that Norman was faced with in his first at-bat. And that one goes on the low outside corner for the next ball. It is 3-2 to the first baseman. We'll see if Trent Baker can retire the side. The pitch goes to the plate, and this one's hit high into the air, going towards Brady Kreitzer. He calls for it in left field, and it'll come down to him, and he's got the catch for the third out. But the MVP take the first lead of tonight's game. They score Connor Kavner, Hutch Russell, and Eli Hill to start the inning, and they have a 3-0 lead. The top of the third is up next. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. In the bottom of the second inning, the Oklahoma MVP scored 3 runs on 4 hits and left only 1 runner on base as they strike first in tonight's game. Starting the top of the third, they lead 3-0. The Larks are back to the top of their order with the right fielder Lane Sparks, starting with a 1-0 count against the starter, number 30, Tate Dome. Next pitch goes to the plate, and this one a deep hit into center field. Hartwig's going to run back for it. This one's going to go over his head, and it's going to take a bounce and go over the center field wall. It's a ground rule double for Lane Sparks as he records the first hit of tonight's game for the Hayes Larks.
Well, that's the way to lead things off there. How about that? A ground rule double for Sparky. He's got himself on second base. He's in prime position now to attack the base paths. And additionally, they've got the heart of their lineup coming up now to be able to potentially drive him in.
The Larks now have gotten 3 runners to second base. Before this inning, they left all of them stranded. So we'll see if they can finally break through right here. Tabor Stokes comes up to bat. He put the ball in play into center field in his previous at-bat. And Dome delivers the pitch. This one will roll foul down the third base line and starts the count off 0-1. So Stokes will await the next pitch from Tate Dome. Behind the dish tonight is, for the MVP, is number 13, Graham Hilton, who is from the same hometown as Tabor Stokes in Mustang, Oklahoma. And I believe both of them were in the same graduating class at Mustang High School.
It's very likely they were high school teammates then.
One count to the shortstop. Working with the Larks stolen base leader over at second. The pitch on the way. Stokes thought about taking a swing at it, but it's a called strike either way. The count goes to 1-2. So the Hutchinson Blue Dragon, Tabor Stokes, will take his time as he returns back into the box. Looking to get a big hit right here and bring home the Larks' first run of tonight's game. Tate Dome puts the changeup inside, and the count moves to 2-2.
This Larks squad, whenever they get that first run up on the scoreboard, that's when the runs start coming for them. It's really just breaking the ice initially to get things rolling.
To make the count uneven, the pitch will go foul, and it will stay even at 2-2 as it goes foul to the Larks dugout. Caleb Duncan popped out from the dugout exit and fielded the ball. And Dome again watching second base as Sparks takes a big lead. And this one will be popped up. Miller's going to be the one that calls for it in left field. And he comes back in. He's got the catch, and there is out number 1.
Larks still got some pretty quality batters on deck here and kind of in the queue for this inning. So it's not time for them to start to get worried about Sparky getting in from second base. The nice part about Lane Sparks is that he's so quick that a single he could probably score from second if he really put his mind to it.
We'll see what Brady Kreitzer does right here. He starts the count off 0-1 as the fastball catches the low part of the zone. He reached base on the first pitch on his first pitch of the game back in the first inning. That was on an error committed by the shortstop Rainer Bean. We'll see if he can bring Lane Sparks home as the count is at 1-1 after the next pitch hit the plate. The freshman Dome continues to look back at second and misses the zone once again. It's a tied count now to the Fort Hays State Tiger, Brady Kreitzer, and the count is 2-1. Dome puts another pitch down low, and it's 3-1 now to Kreitzer. After Brady, the Larks will send Wilbert Espinal and Dylan LaRue up to the plate. And the pitch goes to the plate, and he uses a slider and gets it on the outside. Kreitzer takes a swing and misses, and it's a full count.
He's got to protect now. There's 3 balls and 2 strikes with a full count now on the board. Kreitzer is going to have to do all he can here to get on the base.
And on a hard ground ball, Dome reaches his glove out and tosses it over to first base. There is 2 away, and going over to third base now is Lane Sparks.
Seen a base hit now, and Sparky will easily be able to make it into home plate. We'll see if Wilbert Espinal can't get the job done here. As a matter of fact, Espinal drove in the first run of the last game where the Larks went down to begin the game against the Blackfins, and Espinal kind of broke the ice for the Larks team, and we'll see if he can't do that here again tonight. He really seems to bring the energy for this Larks team whenever they need it most.
Espinal is a left-handed batter, and that hit where he had the RBI double actually went into left field, which would be the target right here because the right side of the infield is playing closer to the grass, so shallow right field wouldn't be the best option. Espinal fouled off the first pitch. The count is 0-1. Dome kicks and deals, and another swing and a miss. 0-2 now to Espinal. He will take his time as he steps back into the left-handed batter's box. And here comes the 0-2. Just missed on the low outside corner for the first ball of the at-bat. The MVP players and fans thought that one should have been called a strike, but it just missed low on the outside. Dome trying to use his fastball to get the out, and that time he uses the slider as it goes inside. And it's 2-2 now to Espinal. Tate Dome takes his time. There's 5 seconds left on the pitch clock, and a swing and a miss will retire the side. As Espinal goes back to the dugout, Lane Sparks will return as well. He made it all the way to third after getting a ground rule double, but he is left stranded. And now it's time for the bottom of the third, as it will be the middle part of the MVP order when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Trent Baker returns to the mound as we start the bottom of the third inning. As it's batters 4, 5, and 6 up next for the Oklahoma MVP. The left fielder Carson Miller will start things off. We'll see what he does this time around after he was hit by a pitch in his first at-bat. And the MVP going to try to continue their rally because they suffered a 10-1 loss in their first game, and now they've jumped out to a hot start with a 3-0 lead over the Larks. 1-0 count to the left fielder. Baker delivers, and this one's hit into left center field. Caleb Duncan will run after it, and this one's going to go off the wall at the 375 mark. A leadoff double for Carson Miller as he gets his second hit of the NBC World Series. Larks do have some action right now in their bullpen. Right now I can see guys like Braxton Buer and Julio Ramos warming up, so we'll see when they decide to put those guys in. For now, the Larks trail 3-0 here in the bottom of the third inning. And now Graham Hilton comes up to bat for Oklahoma. He will start with an 0-1 count. Baker delivers the next pitch. This one will go foul. It was close to being fair down the first base line. But Hilton's now down 0-2. The sophomore from Northern Oklahoma, Enid, that we mentioned is the former high school teammate of Hayes Lark, Tabor Stokes. He is down 0-2. Baker delivers, puts it on the high inside corner for ball one. LaRue wants to pitch low and outside. It goes right there, but it just misses the zone. 2-2 now to the catcher. Baker takes a look back at second as he gets set to deliver the next pitch. And this one's hit hard over to Paul Smith, who will tell Trent Baker to wait. And he will tag first base as the runner, Carson Miller, goes over to third. There is one away.
Well, the Larks have really got to play some stellar defense now because they're trailing 3 runs here going into the bottom of the third. This is kind of unprecedented for this Larks team. We haven't seen them trail by this many runs this early in the game. So if they can continue to play defense well, I think that they'll put themselves in a pretty good position to try and work their way back into this game. But for now, all they can do is just try to hold down the fort here on defense.
Connor Kavnar, the designated hitter, comes up to bat. From Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He now moves to a 1-1 count as he leaves the next pitch up high. He was a redshirt this season at Johnson County Community College and is a player that was actually added to the MVP before they played in the NBC World Series because he was with the Oklahoma Express this summer. And he watches the next pitch go by. The count is 2-1. A lot of Larks fans thought that one should have been called strike 2, but the count will be tied to the designated hitter. We get a mid-game flyover now as a plane flew over the field. We are by the airport here in Wichita, which I believe that's what Wichita State's known for with all the aviation and stuff, correct?
That's what Wichita as a whole is known for. We are the air capital of the world. Welcome to the air capital of the world, folks. So You see all sorts of planes flying out of Wichita and in the Wichita area, for that matter. You have McConnell Air Force Base as well in McPherson that you see a lot of military aircraft flying out of.
And the Larks make a diving play. The run does score from third, Carson Miller. But Thomas Lissy making a big play on his knees, getting Connor Kavnar out over at first base, and there's now 2 away.
Well, I see a little bit of action in the Larks bullpen over there. That looks to be number 29 for the Larks in the bullpen.
2 outs now, nobody on base for the MVP. Now up to bat is the freshman infielder from Midwest City, Oklahoma, Hutch Russell, who is actually the younger brother of former Hayes Lark Houston Russell. Hutch is a freshman from Seminole State. He will hit this one, and it will land foul, moving the count to 1-1.
It's kind of a cool little connection there, being able to play against your brother's former team. So an update on the bullpen. That is number 29. That is Jordan Stribling over there in the bullpen warming up for the Larks. So we'll see how soon they pull Trent Baker, if they pull him at all. Obviously, they'll pull him at some point, but it's just kind of a matter of when. I'm just kind of curious to see how soon they end up pulling the trigger on that.
Hutch Russell again makes another big hit, but this one lands in foul territory on the grass hill close to that right field pole.
Well, he's found that same spot twice now. If he can straighten that out, that has a really good chance of going deep over the fence.
Both foul poles only go to 330 feet. So if he can get a good hit, he could definitely get some fireworks going here at X Stadium. He faces a 2-2 count now as Russell looks for his second hit of tonight's game. And a swing and a miss on the 2-2 count retires the side. Carson Miller got on a double to start the inning. He scores on a ground out RBI from Connor Kavnar. And now it's time for the top of the 4th inning. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. In the bottom of the 3rd inning, the MVP add one more run to the scoreboard and one more hit to their stat sheet to lead 4-0. And despite the lead, they are going with a pitching change, bringing in the freshman from Blanchard, Oklahoma, number 33, Caden Phelan, who is a freshman from Crowder Community College. And now it's time for me to throw the play-by-play duties over to Eli Blankenship.
Well, thank you, Hank. The first pitch to Dylan LaRue is fouled away and out of play. He will start out the count 0-1. Phelan comes in here in the top of the 4th inning for the Oklahoma MVP. The 0-1 to LaRue is high and outside for ball 1. So far this season, Phelan's appeared in 11 games, started 5 of those. It's a 5.19 ERA. The 1-1 to LaRue is swung on and missed, and the count will move to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Phelan kicks and deals. That pitch high and away for ball 2. Phelan pitching out of the stretch here for the Oklahoma MVP. The 2-2 is swung on and missed. Dylan LaRue goes down swinging. The first strikeout of the outing for Caden Phelan, and out number 1 at the top of the 4th. That is strikeout number 37 on the year for Caden Phelan. That brings up the third baseman, Thomas Lissy, wearing number 15 for the Larks. The Larks wearing their bright red uniforms with white lettering. First pitch to Lissy is outside for ball 1. On the contrary, the MVP wearing kind of a royal blue with red lettering. The 1-0 is fouled away. Goes behind the plate. Count now 1 apiece. The MVP wearing white ball caps with the MVP logo across the front of him. 1-1 is hit into shallow left field, and that will drop into play. Lissy will have a base hit to start off the top of the 4th.
He hit it on that side where the infielders were playing closer, and also it looked like Miller miscalculated a little bit because he was drifting back and then had to come forward and then couldn't make the play.
I just think he kind of misread the ball in the air, and I can see out there in right field where the American flag is at, the wind is blowing from right to left field, so I'm wondering if that may have played into effect there on his attempt to read that ball. Miller couldn't quite get the right read on that ball, and Lissy took advantage of it. He reaches first base here in the top of the 4th inning. That brings up the first baseman, number 25, Paul Smith. First pitch to him finds the inside corner for strike 1. Phelan delivers. Smith will hit one right into the gap into right field. Lissy reaches second base. And Smith makes his way to first, and the Larks faithful showing their approval as X Stadium is starting to kind of pick up in noise level. This is the loudest I've heard it here in the tournament so far.
Yeah, we've reached the weekend, so I'd assume a lot more Larks fans are going to come down and show their support for the team. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be this loud on Monday night.
Fresh count now for the center fielder, Kalo Duncan, and Wichita State Shocker. The first pitch to him is high and inside for ball 1. Hank and I were just kind of discussing this before the game about how many notable players have played in this tournament. It's really incredible. We heard that Satchel Paige actually played in the very first NBC World Series, and we're now at the 91st NBC World Series. So pretty incredible that some of baseball's biggest names have played in this tournament. Aaron Judge, one of the big stars in today's game, has played in this tournament. Lots of very notable names. Alex Gordon, Royals legend, left fielder for them, has played in this tournament. That ball hit into center field. Lissy will tag, and he will make his way to third base. He slides in safely. Duncan flies out. Lissy advances to third, and now he's just 90 feet away from breaking the ice for this Larks team. But it really, truly, I mean, Barry Bonds, another one that we'd seen on the list. I mean, they've got a whole running list now of all these very notable players that have played in this tournament. It's really cool to think that all of these players we're watching right now could be the next big star in the MLB. You just never know with some of these players.
Yeah, when you buy the program here, it's always cool to flip through and just having that mystery in mind, like, is this guy going to be playing in the big leagues one day? It's just very fun to watch.
A fresh count to the bottom of the order for the Larks. This is C.J. Reed, the second baseman for the Larks. He's pretty much been the second baseman almost every single outing for the Larks. He's one of the few constants in their lineup. He takes the first pitch on the outside corner for strike one. Phelan comes set. Now the 0-1. The infield umpire calls time. He points to the mound behind Phelan. I don't know what the call is here.
I think the pitch clock ran out, so that's going to be a ball.
It's a good eye there, Hank, and I'm still trying to get used to it myself. I can only imagine how hard of a transition that is to make when you learn playing the game that there is no pitch clock. I can only imagine that's a very difficult transition. So Phelan will give up a ball there on that pitch. The 1-1 now to Reed. That one high in the zone, so it'll be ball two, so a 2-1 count to C.J. Reed. Two balls and one strike. Phelan delivers. Reed takes a half-hearted swing. They're going to say he didn't go. That pitch inside on him. The runner on first will advance to second. Now two runners in scoring position for the second baseman. 3 balls and 1 strike to Reed. And the Larks faithful starting to make some noise here in the stands at X Stadium. The pitch from Phelan. That pitch high, it's ball 4. C.J. Reed walks his way down to first base. The Larks have the bases loaded and the top of the order here at X Stadium. This is quite the opportunity they've got on their hands, and it looks like the MVP are going to elect to have a mound meeting before this bat.
Perfect opportunity to return to the top of their order, and they're having a mound meeting right now. And I'm still going to say I'm very surprised that they made the change on the mound with how good of a start Tate Dome had through the first 3 innings. Only 1 hit allowed. He got 1 strikeout in each inning, and overall was doing really well. And now they face bases loaded with a new pitcher up at the mound.
I would agree. I'm wondering if maybe there was some discomfort that he was experiencing or something, or maybe was battling through an injury before he came into this tournament. It's just hard to say. You just never know, especially with pitchers. That's a very physically demanding position, whether you're taking, 1 or 2 innings or you're taking 5, 6, 7 innings in a game. Regardless, it's very demanding on your arm. So I can only imagine that there may have been something underlying there that we don't know about personally.
And the MVP are also a mystery team as well, being their first NBC appearance, and also we didn't have stats provided from them before they came in here, so it's just very tough to tell.
It's Lane Sparks, the right fielder, up to the plate for the Larks. He's got the bases loaded. The 0-1 is fouled away, out of play. Sparks now faces an 0-2 count. He's going to have to really battle back now. Sparks averaging .369 on the season. He's the stolen base leader for the Larks and the leader in runs for the Larks. He's got 31 stolen bases and 44 runs. 41 hits and 30 RBIs for him on the season. The 0-2. That pitch high and outside for ball 1. Sparks awaits the next pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That pitch can't find the zone. The count now evens up to 2 apiece.
Great eyes there by Lane Sparks. Both of those last 2, you hear the crowd reaction. They could have easily been called strikes, but he's showing a lot of plate discipline.
They were certainly very close to the zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The pitch from Phelan. That's fouled away by Sparks. You saw him read that pitch really well there. He fouls that one behind himself into the safety netting. The bat boy for the Larks will go collect that ball. The pitch clock will resume now. Sparks will await the 2-2. The pitch from Phelan. That pitch fouled high into the air. It'll go over the top of the press box. Sparks continuing to battle here against Caden Phelan, the right-hander for the Oklahoma MVP. The 2-2. That pitch fouled away. It hit the very inside of his bat, just barely nicking his bat. Almost got him to strike out on that pitch. That pitch was definitely a ball, and it's almost like it curved inside to Sparks, and he just didn't read the pitch quite right, and Lane Sparks kind of got away with one there.
It's very tough for them to read these pitches, but I will say something that I'm going to point out right here is the starting pitcher for the MVP and their new pitcher both have the same arsenal, fastball, slider, changeup, so that helps the Larks with this pitching change.
The 2-2 is hit deep into left field. Backing up is Miller. That ball hits the wall. The Larks faithful are on their feet. They're screaming. 2 runs scoring, 3 runs scoring. The Larks have a 3-run double from Lane Sparks, clearing the bases. Larks faithful on their feet here at X Stadium, and just like that, the Larks are right back in this ball game.
You can just feel the momentum shift right there. The Larks have a large group of people coming here to support them, and we'll see if that starts to get a rally going right here now that you got another runner in scoring position, and that runner can tie the game.
That ball was maybe 2 feet from being a grand slam. When I tell you that was one of the closest grand slams I've ever seen in my life, and in that kind of instance with 2 outs and all the pressure on you, boy, that would have been something if Lane Sparks was able to let that one go yard. That brings up the shortstop, Tabor Stokes, who had a great outing against the Blackfins in their first NBC matchup. The first pitch to Stokes is fielded by Bean. He throws it on over to the first baseman, Norman, to end the inning. When we come back, it's the bottom of the 4th inning. The Larks scoring 3 runs there. They trail 3-4. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium. And after a 3-run top of the 4th for the Larks, it'll be the Oklahoma MVP trying to strike back here after an electric performance, an electric 3 RBI double from Lane Sparks to end that inning. Leading off for the MVP is number 11, Eli Hill, the second baseman. He starts the count 2 balls and no strikes.
And even though the Larks weren't able to regain the lead or tie it like they would have hoped to, you could definitely feel the momentum shift based on the crowd's reaction.
The third pitch of the count is flied out into center field, and there to make the catch is Caleb Duncan. Duncan very familiar with the conditions here at Tyler Field. The center fielder for the Larks makes the first out of the inning here in the bottom of the 4th. That brings up the right fielder, Brad Wilson, wearing number 29 for the Oklahoma MVP.
And he recorded an RBI single in his first appearance. And something to keep in mind is that he was added to the MVP from the Liberal BJs, so he is familiar playing the Larks this season.
The third pitch of the at-bat to Brand Wilson is flied out into right field. There to make the catch is Lane Sparks. And that will be 2 away here in the bottom of the fourth. And correction, that was Brand Wilson, not Brad Wilson. The lineup card that I was reading before this game had him down as Brad Wilson. So brings up the top of the order for the Oklahoma MVP. That is Rainer Bean, the shortstop. First pitch to him is swung on and missed. No balls and 1 strike. Pitch from Baker. Swing and a miss. Now an 0-2 count to Bean. Baker kicks and deals. That pitch fouled away and out of play. Count will stay at 0-2. The pitch. That pitch high and outside from Baker. Baker really keeping the tempo going here. He's really shortened the time in between pitches. The 1-2 is popped up into shallow right field. There to make the catch is C.J. Reed for the final out of the inning. The Larks don't allow any runs there in the bottom of the fourth. 3 up, 3 down when we come back. It's the top of the fifth. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium here at the 91st Annual NBC World Series from Wichita, Kansas. Leading off for the Larks is Brady Kreitzer. He's looking to try to get the Larks back on the scoreboard after a 3-run top of the fourth inning. The Larks trailing at 3-4 against the Oklahoma MVP. Still on the mound for the Oklahoma MVP is Caden Phelan, wearing number 33 for them. The first pitch to Kreitzer is grounded over to the third baseman Russell, and it is thrown over to Herman for the first out of the inning. That brings up the 4-hole hitter, the designated hitter, Wilbert Espinal, the left-handed hitter for the Larks. He awaits the first pitch from Phelan. First pitch, low and inside on Espinal. It'll be 1 ball and no strikes to start the count. The 1-0 can't find the outside corner. Espinal will now sit at 2 balls and no strikes against Phelan. The pitch. Outside, and now 3 balls and no strikes to Espinal. He steps out of the batter's box for just a moment. Now back into the batter's box he goes, twirls his bat one time, gets his white batting gloves wrapped around the handle. Now the 3-0. That pitch outside. Espinal will take his base. It's a base on balls for Wilbert Espinal with one out here in the top of the fifth. That'll bring up one of the Larks power hitters, to put it lightly. That's Dylan LaRue. He's got 6 home runs on the season for the Larks. LaRue catching for the Larks this evening. He's one of 3 catchers on this roster. He takes the first pitch for ball 1. LaRue attends Cumberland University, where he's a junior. He plays first base and catcher for them. The 1-0 popped up high and out of play. LaRue's count will go to 1-1. LaRue averaging .284 on the season. On 31 hits, 6 home runs, and 36 RBIs. The 1-1 to LaRue. That pitch popped up and out of play. Will land in the stands. And it sounds like, based on the reaction from the crowd, that somebody may have missed the catch. They almost had it in their hands. And it looked to be really close to where the Larks faithful were sitting. So I'm curious to know if maybe we'll get it here after the game. 1 ball and 2 strikes to LaRue. That pitch also fouled up and goes into really almost the exact same spot where he fouled it away. And his count will remain at 1-2. Phelan comes set. Now the delivery to LaRue. That pitch hit hard into deep center field. Backing up is Hartwig. He is there to make the catch. Espinal goes halfway. He'll make his way back to first base. 2 down now in the top of the 5th. That brings up the third baseman, number 15, Thomas Lissy. The lights have started to come on here at Eck Stadium here in Wichita, Kansas, on the campus of Wichita State University. Got the large Woo Shock logo out in center field. The first pitch to Lissy is grounded to the pitcher, Phelan, who walks it over to first base and secures the final out of the inning. No runs on no hits for the Larks here in the bottom of the 5th. When we come back, it's the top of the 6th inning. We welcome you back to the campus of Wichita State University here at Eck Stadium, where the Larks are taking on the Oklahoma MVP. It's the bottom of the 5th inning, and so far the Larks have been playing from behind this whole game. They trail by a score of 3-4. Trent Baker still on the mound for the Larks. That is the 2-hole hitter up to the plate for the Oklahoma MVP, Ashton Hartwig, the center fielder. The 0-1 to Hartwig is fielded by Baker. Baker fires it over to first base. Smith can't make the play. That ball will go into the MVP bullpen, and they will give the base to Hartwig. He will get his way over to second base. He is going to reach second on an error. I actually don't even know if is that going to go down as a hit in the scorebook. That's the question.
Doesn't look like it. Looking at the scoreboard, they didn't add a hit. It's still at 6 for the MVP, and it has 2 errors for the Larks.
Yep, they just added an error for the Larks, so an error, it'll be an E1. Will be the way that Hartwig reaches second base. So 1 runner in scoring position now with no outs in the bottom of the 5th inning. That brings up the first baseman, Tanner Norman. He wears number 2 for the MVP. Baker looks back to second base, fires the 1-0, and it finds its way into the zone for strike 1. Baker gets the call from LaRue. The 1-1. That pitch hit hard into shallow center field. Rounding third is Hartwig. He's going to try to make his way all the way home. LaRue is there to make the tag. He's out. Out number 1 of the inning comes from an amazing throw from Caleb Duncan, who fired the ball from the center of center field right out by the Woo Shock logo.
There's not much you can really say about that. That was an impressive throw. Duncan jumped up and made the catch and then kind of used that momentum to make that throw. And he's got the first out. Still no runs allowed this inning.
Hartwig was turning on the afterburners to try to make his way to home plate. LaRue was there to secure the throw from Duncan and secure the out. Here in the bottom of the 5th, Caleb Duncan getting congratulated and commended by his fellow outfielders after that play. That'll bring up the left fielder, Carson Miller. He starts out the count 0-1. That pitch hit into left field. It will drop out of play. No balls and 2 strikes to the left fielder now.
And that's got to be frustrating there for the MVP because ever since they built that lead and the Larks have made that comeback, they've been able to get some big hits. They just can't get them into foul territory on the left or right field side.
It's going to come down to the wire here for sure, especially because of where both teams are sitting right now. The MVP have been putting together hits, like you said. 7 hits so far in this game. Only 4 of those have been runs. On the contrary, the Larks, 4 hits, all but 1 have been runs. So kind of an interesting dynamic there for both teams. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Miller. The pitch from Baker. That ball outside for ball 2. Baker with 1 runner on second and 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Miller. Baker kicks and deals. That pitch missing the outside of the zone by just a hair. And now it's a full count for Baker. Baker gets the pitch call from LaRue. The payoff pitch. Missing the outside corner. They will walk Miller. And the Larks faithful not happy about that call from the home plate umpire.
The home plate umpire in both games for the Larks has also liked those ones that go more inside, so just a little bit too far out.
You're exactly right. And every umpire is going to have a different zone. That's just the nature of what it is, because no human obviously is going to be exactly perfect call for call. And I think that's kind of where that comes into play. There'll be a mound meeting with Trent Baker. We'll see if they elect to pull him. There is some action in the Larks bullpen. I see Jordan Stribling warming up.
I am surprised that they haven't made the change yet just because of the amount of time Stribling has been in the bullpen.
Well, Stribling looks just as confused as we are up here. He's got his hands out, kind of confused as to what's going on, as to when he's going to go into the game. You don't want to wear him out too much in the bullpen. Obviously, he wants to stay loose, but you get to a point where how many reps is too many reps for Stribling in the bullpen. So Baker will stay in the ball game here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Runners on first and second, one out. That brings up the catcher, Graham Hilton. First pitch to Hilton is in there for ball one. The 1-0 is fouled away down the third baseline. Going through the legs of Thomas Lissy and making its way close to the Larks bullpen. 1 ball and 1 strike to Hilton. Larks trail at 3-4 here in the bottom of the fifth. The 1-1. They pitch outside for ball 2. Baker comes set. 2 balls and 1 strike now to Hilton. The pitch is a little bit low for the home plate umpire's liking. That moves the count to 3-1. The delivery now from Baker. That pitch outside. He'll walk the catcher, Graham Hilton, and that will bring up a bases-loaded situation here for Trent Baker, and it looks like it's time for Jordan Stribling to make his way onto the mound, and I'm a little bit surprised they've waited now until the bases are loaded to bring him onto the mound, but nonetheless, it's time for Stribling to make his way out on the mound. When we come back, it's Jordan Stribling who's going to try and get the Larks out of this pickle. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Well, we welcome you back to the 91st annual NBC World Series here in Wichita, Kansas. Jordan Stribling taking the mound here for the Hayes Larks. He's appeared in the most games out of any pitcher on this roster. 13 games appeared in. This will be number 14 for him tonight. He has got a 3.89 ERA for the Larks this season. He's gotten 41 strikeouts and allowed 17 runs in the season. He's certainly one of the better pitchers on this roster and a fan favorite from the Larks faithful.
And he's the type of pitcher that you want to bring into games like this, just because of how well he limits hitting. And you've seen so far how the MVP have made contact with the ball. This seems like the right time to bring him in.
He will start the count against Connor Kavnar, the designated hitter, by firing a strike into the zone. Dribbling the left-handed pitcher for the Larks. Now delivers the 0-1. Swing and a miss for Kavnar. No balls and 2 strikes from the Oklahoma University baseball player. Stribling's throwing arm dangles in front of him. Comes set. Now the 0-2. That pitch hit hard into center field. Duncan backing up. He's going to have to haul to get there. He makes the catch, throwing the ball back into the infield. One will score for the MVP. Now 5-3 MVP lead here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Duncan making, I would almost argue, a heroic catch there on that particular play. Duncan really had to haul to get over that ball in time to be able to track that one down, and it really wasn't an easy catch to make either. He kind of had to make it over his shoulder. So a very crucial out there secured by Caleb Duncan.
Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit for making that play. And with the situation that Jordan Stribling comes into with the bases loaded and there was only 1 out, you can allow that sacrifice fly run coming in from third because this is kind of a bend, don't break situation.
Stribling purely on damage control here in the bottom of the 5th. No balls and 1 strike to the third baseman, Hutch Russell. That pitch outside for ball 1. Stribling finding the grip on the ball. Now the 1-1. That pitch hit right up the gut. Duncan's going to have to make a big throw from center field, and it's not going to be in time to stop the runner from second base from scoring. The MVP now with a 3-run lead here in the bottom of the 5th. Larks with 2 outs, and the MVP leading at 6-3. Runners on first and second. Stribling still trying to do all that he can here to not allow any more runs. The very lanky left-hander will now face the second baseman, Eli Hill. First pitch to Hill is inside for ball 1. The 1-0. That pitch finds the zone for strike 1. Stribling, a pretty tall guy himself. As a pitcher, obviously, it makes sense, but he's got really long reach, and he's got super long legs, too, allowing him to really generate a lot of power. The 1-1 goes outside for ball 2. Two balls and 1 strike now to Eli Hill. To the delivery. That pitch foul away. Straight into the bleachers. And a young fan will have himself a souvenir to take home. The count is now even at 2 apiece. Stribling looks back to second. Now the pitch. That pitch dribbled out of play. It'll be fouled towards the Larks dugout. The count will remain even at 2-2. The left-hander comes set. Now the pitch. Swing and a miss. They're going to call a foul tip. So Eli Hill, the second baseman, will live to fight 1 more pitch at the very least. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Hill. The pitch from Stribling. That pitch high and outside. It will get past LaRue, and both runners will advance at 1 base. 2 runners in scoring position now for the MVP. Jordan Stribling still playing damage control here. I'm sure the runners are certainly in the back of his mind right now. A full count for Stribling. The payoff pitch to Hill. Swing and a miss. Stribling limits the damage, only allowing 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning after coming in with the bases loaded. The Larks trailing it 6-3 when we come back. It's the top of the 6th inning, and the Larks' turn to get the bats going. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network.
Larks. Larks.
We welcome you back to X Stadium here at the 91st NBC World Series. It's the Larks' turn to try and get the bats going. They've got number 25, Paul Smith, the first baseman, up to the plate. They allowed 2 runs there in the bottom of the 5th, and now the MVP's lead has increased to 3 runs. The first pitch to Smith is low and outside for ball 1. And still on the mound for the MVP is Caden Phelan, the right-hander for the Oklahoma MVP. The 1-0 finds its way into the zone for strike 1. Phelan, a native of Blanchard, Oklahoma, attends Crowder Community College. It's a 5.19 ERA. That pitch hit to the second baseman, Hill, who fires it over to Norman, the first baseman, for out number 1. 3 pitches in that at-bat to Paul Smith, and that will bring up the center fielder, Caleb Duncan, who's been playing the heroics in the outfield tonight. Duncan certainly no stranger to Tyler Field, as he is a Wichita State baseball player. First pitch to Duncan finds its way into the zone. Duncan can't quite believe it. He turns out of the box and gives himself a moment to recuperate. He was showing bunt there for just a moment and pulled it away and slipped its way into the zone. No balls and 1 strike to Duncan. That pitch hit hard to the second baseman, Hill. It goes past Hill. Duncan will round first base and slip and slow himself down on the turf to make his way back to first. It looks like they will not rule that an error. Duncan will reach first base, and he'll have a single here with 1 out in the top of the 6th.
They are listing it as an error. I thought with how hard that one was hit that – with how hard that one was hit, I thought that they surely would have called that one a hit.
Yeah, I would agree there. I don't agree necessarily with that error call there. I think that Duncan certainly hit the ball really hard on that play. So a potential for a double play there. C.J. Reed hit the ball to the second baseman, Hill. Duncan slid into second base, and the force out was applied at second, so Caleb Duncan will make his way back to the dugout. C.J. Reed will now be on first. 2 outs in the top of the order now for the Larks. Looks like there'll be a meeting on the mound with the right-hander, Caden Phelan. And it looks like his day is going to come to a close. And he is going to make his way back to the dugout, and it looks like the MVP have a new pitcher on the mound. When we come back, we'll get to see who the new pitcher is and the remainder of the 6th inning. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium. It is Carson Colbreth taking the mound for the Oklahoma MVP, the freshman at Murray State Community College, and right-handed pitcher, native of Caddo, Oklahoma. The first pitch to Lane Sparks is in there for strike one.
And you mentioned how surprising it was that they're making this change now, and I was personally expecting them to make the change after this inning because I was wondering, do they follow the same thing as the Larks where they go 3 innings per pitcher?
Well, it would make sense for them to make the change after this inning, but when you have 2 outs and 1 runner on, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make that change. C.J. Reed steals second base successfully. Now 1 runner in scoring position for the right fielder, Lane Sparks. The 0-2 to Sparks now. Swing, no swing. Got him looking right into the zone, finds the very inner corner of the zone, and the home plate umpire giving Lane Sparks a bit of a talking to. And Coach Frank Leo will escort Sparks back into the dugout and have a word with the home plate umpire. When we return, it'll be the bottom of the 6th inning. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium. Braxton Buer taking the mound for the Larks. The second pitch of the at-bat to number 29, Brand Wilson, the right fielder and bottom of the lineup for the Oklahoma MVP, is fouled out of play. The 0-2 swung on and missed. Drop third strike. LaRue will make the throw over to first and secure the first out of the inning.
And with Braxton Buer coming into the game, that was the mystery right there. With the time that he was away recovering from injury, how he's going to respond coming back to the Larks, especially in this setting, because it's been 36 days since he's last pitched with the Larks.
You make a really good point there. Obviously, Braxton Buer, one of the ace pitchers on this pitching squad for this Larks team, early in the season had to take a leave of absence in order to kind of rehab a bit of an injury himself, and because of that, he didn't really get to pitch with the Larks for the second half of the season, and now he's back for the NBC World Series. A 1-1 count to the top of the order. Rainer Bean, the shortstop, takes that pitch inside for strike two. The 1-2 hit hard down the third base line. It gets past Thomas Lissy. Sliding into the ball is Kreiser. He fires it over to the cutoff man in Stokes. The ball makes it past Reed, but thankfully Paul Smith is there to back him up. So it's a double for Rainer Bean. Now one runner in scoring position here in the bottom of the sixth, and the Larks have got to be feeling the pressure now as they're down 3 runs. What can you imagine is going through these players' heads at this point? I mean, this is a position they haven't been in before.
You'd have to think I'm trying to think how to describe it. Like, let's just take a moment and regain our focus and just take it one inning at a time. I'll say it that way.
It's certainly been a frustrating outing on all sides of the ball for the Larks, not what they're used to. And I think taking it one inning at a time is absolutely right. Ashton Hartwig, the center fielder, up to the plate. He starts the count 1-1. Pitch from Buer. Inside for ball 2. Two balls and 1 strike to Hartwig. Buer, the left-hander, takes a look back to second base. Now delivers the pitch. That pitch popped up into the stands. Will go out of play and land pretty close to a fan. It misses. And now the count will sit at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Ashton Hartwig. Here comes set. The 2-2. Chop to Lissy. Lissy fires it over to Smith. Smith is there to secure the second out of the inning. 2 down on the bottom of the 6th. Hartwig grounds out, and that brings up the first baseman, Tanner Norman.
And a good heads-up play there by Thomas Lissy. Braxton Buer going to his fastball that time around, and Lissy able to make a great play, and now the Larks just need 1 out to get out of this inning.
Tanner Norman wearing number 2 for the Oklahoma MVP. The first pitch to him is in the dirt for ball 1. Norman averaging .290 this season at the plate for the Oklahoma MVP. 1 ball and no strikes. That pitch fouled away for strike 1. The wind still coming at a pretty steady click out of right field. Not really whipping too hard on the flagpole. The 1-1 finds the zone for strike 2, finding that outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to the first baseman.
I'd expect Buer to go back to his fastball to get the final strike.
The 1-2 hit straight into the outfield Tracking it down is Duncan. They'll send the runner from second home, and he will score. So the Oklahoma MVP now taking a 4-run lead here in the bottom of the 6th inning. It's a 1 RBI single for Tanner Norman. That brings up the left fielder batting in the cleanup position, Carson Miller. Miller takes the first pitch for ball 1. That pitch hit hard over to Lissy. Lissy fields it, throws it over to Reed, and it closes out the inning. The MVP score 1 in the bottom of the 6th. They increase their lead up to 4 runs now. They lead at 7-3 here in the bottom of the 6th. To the top of the 7th we go. When we come back, it's the Larks' turn to try and work their way back into this ball game. You're listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium. I'm going to turn it back over to Hank for the play-by-play duties. He's got it for the rest of the game. Hank, it's yours.
Thank you, Eli. It's time for the top of the 7th inning as the Larks will send up batters 2, 3, 4 to face off against Carson Colbreth, the freshman right-hander out of Murray State Community College. Tabor Stokes leads off the inning, and the count starts off 0-1 as Colbreth goes to his slider to begin the inning. He came in at the very end of the 6th inning to face off against the Larks' final batter, and this one will be put in play to the third baseman Russell, throwing across the infield to Norman for the first out. And now that takes us to number 4, Brady Kreitzer, for his 4th plate appearance of tonight's game. The Larks going in search of their first run since the 4th inning as they try to mount a comeback against the Oklahoma MVP playing in their first NBC World Series. In Kreitzer's 3 prior appearances, he's reached base once. His first pitch will be fouled back into the net behind home plate, and the count will begin 0-1. Kreitzer entered this game as the Larks leader in slugging percentage at .814 on the year. If the Larks need a big hit from him, it's going to have to be right here, as he's now down in the count 0-2 with 1 out. And Colbreth gets set to deliver the pitch, and he puts the slider on the outside part of the plate, and it's a swing and a miss for out number 2. So the Larks will try to avoid their first 3-up, 3-down inning of tonight's game as Wilbert Espinal, the designated hitter, comes up to bat. Playing in his 11th game of the season since joining the Larks. He was a part of last year's championship team. He played in all 6 games and had a solid performance with a 280 average here in Wichita last season. He will start the inning with a 1-0 count as Colbreth sends his fastball in the low inside corner. Colbreth going fast as he gets set to wind up, and there's only 12 seconds left on the pitch clock. The ball goes to the plate, and it's left up high. 2-0 count now to Wilbert Espinal. This is his fourth plate appearance of the night as well, and both times that he's gotten on base have been through walks. And the fastball goes inside. Tied count now to Espinal at 2-1. The catcher wants the pitch low, and Espinal fouls it back for strike two. This pitch will make the count uneven, 2-2 to the plate, and it misses on the inside, so it's a full count with 2 outs to Wilbert Espinal. Colbreth will send the payoff pitch to the plate, and it takes a bounce in the dirt for ball 4.
Well, the Larks have got a base runner now. We'll see if they can get something going here with 2 outs on the board, see if they can't get a 2-out rally going. They need something. It's starting to become dire times here for the Larks. They've got to get something going here. With it being the 7th inning, they don't have a whole lot of at-bats left to try to get some more runs on the board. They're still behind 4 runs, and if they let this lead slip up any more, it might start to become out of reach.
That's 3 walks now on the night for the junior out of Marietta, Georgia, Wilbert Espinal. And now coming up to the plate is Dylan LaRue. He starts with a 1-0 count. The sun's starting to set out here in Wichita, Kansas. Fans in the outfield are setting up their tents as part of around-the-clock baseball. Getting ready for those 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. games. And the next pitch, LaRue will take a swing and miss. And there is strike 1. It was not a foul ball, so the coaches were yelling at Espinal to go over to second, but he will stay put at first.
There's a few brave souls out there in the outfield. I see like 4 tents or so out there out in right field over by the flagpole trying to prepare themselves for round-the-clock baseball.
1-1 goes to the plate, and it's inside and low for ball 2.
I know Hank and I both were kind of hoping we'd get a late game to just kind of have the experience of getting to call one of those, but we did not get lucky enough to be able to provide coverage of those games for you guys.
Another pitch goes down the middle to LaRue for strike 2. Around-the-clock baseball actually came early this year because of last night's games. Due to the lightning in the area, they didn't get done playing until 2 a.m. last night. Well, we return to our action right here, 2-2 now to the catcher, LaRue. And Colbreth delivers the pitch. It'll go down low for ball 3. Back-to-back full counts now for the Hayes Larks, and there's 2 outs. Colbreth delivers the payoff pitch, and this one is a fly ball, and it's a diving catch by Eli Hill at the second base position, and there is out number 3. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning, 5-6-7 up next for the Oklahoma MVP. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Back here at X Stadium as we start the bottom of the 7th inning as batters 5, 6, 7 are up next for the Oklahoma MVP. And for the third time tonight, the Larks make a call to the bullpen, bringing in a new face to the lineup. That is number 31, Trey Watson. He played one game for the Denver Cougars over this summer and now joins the Larks for the NBC World Series. On his second pitch, it's a ground ball over to Thomas Lissy to first base in time for out number 1.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised to see the amount of pitching changes that have come in this ball game. It's not like there's been any of the pitchers in this game that have really been like giving up run after run after run or getting into big trouble per se. And when there was with Baker, he had that inning where he got the bases loaded and they ended up pulling him and that kind of just worked out the way it did. But I'm just kind of surprised that we've been seeing as many pitching changes as we have been. It's just kind of out of the regular for this Larks team.
Connor Kavnar up to bat. He will pop this one up into right field. Paul Smith running after it, but it's a little too far out of his reach, and the count starts off 0-1. The new pitcher, like we said, is Trey Watson, a senior from Beauregard, Alabama. He is a new addition to the Larks. He played for the Denver Cougars. His lone appearance was actually against the Larks back on July 20th. Just finished playing 3 seasons at Mobile University. And on the second batter he's facing, the count is 0-2 as Kavner takes a swing and misses.
When I was just talking to you, I saw our pitching coach actually talking to him after the game that they played against the Cougars. So that's very likely what kind of was going on there, that correspondence.
Next pitch goes outside for the first ball of the at-bat.
You got to imagine potentially saw some promise there, and they were like, well, we need some more pitchers for our NBC roster. Why don't we add him onto the roster? And that kind of worked out for him, getting a chance to play in the World Series this year.
Next pitch goes to the plate, and this one's going to be a deep fly ball into left field. Kreitzer will run after it, and this one's going to hit the middle part of the wall. And it's a double with 1 out for Connor Kavner.
I thought that ball had a chance to get out of the ballpark. It really looked like it did. Brady Kreitzer was really hoofing it to get over there to try and be able to be there to make the play, and that ball landed quite literally like a foot away from going over the wall. It landed right where the wall becomes fence, right over by that wall of honor section, right really close to that 330 foul pole, closer to the light pole as opposed to the foul pole, but was very close to being a home run, to say the least.
Kavner's having himself a night, 2 hits and 2 RBIs, as well as a run to go with it. And he's in scoring position as Hutch Russell comes up to bat. He has 2 hits as well and a run scored. So he's 2 for 3 on the night. Watson's next pitch is on the way, and this one's going to be put in play. C.J. Reed makes a diving play for it. It gets away from him. He'll throw over to first base, and the umpire in the field actually balled up his fist to call for an out, but will call him safe at first base. And now Oklahoma's going to have runners at the corners. So still just 1 out. And a play that could be labeled as controversial. It was very close. But either way, still 1 out. Runners at third and first. Now Eli Hill up to bat. His first pitch he'll swing at and miss for strike 1. And the alarm just went off here at X Stadium as a notification to the fans that are participating in around-the-clock baseball. They have to check in the tent in right field. Otherwise, they are ineligible to say that they completed around-the-clock baseball.
Well, I saw on NBC's Instagram page that if you complete round-the-clock baseball, you actually have the opportunity to get a shirt that you completed the round-the-clock baseball, and I survived round-the-clock baseball shirt, so kind of a cool incentive for fans to try to complete the full 33 hours.
Next pitch just misses the zone for ball 2, and stealing second is Hutch Russell. Trey Watson taking his time. And his next pitch just misses outside. It is now 3-1. The runner at third is Connor Kavner. At second is Hutch Russell. The pitch on the way. And just misses the zone once again. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded.
Well, the Larks faithful showing their displeasure of that call there. Almost found the zone. It was really close call. No matter what you say on that play, you can't really. From up here, we can't make that call one way or the other. Trey Watson was very close to finding the zone there, and it looks like they're going to have a mound meeting with him now.
Yeah, it's really tough to tell. I've actually been peeking into the booth next to us because that is where the NBC is doing their video broadcast of the game, and they have a monitor put up, so I'm trying to get a glimpse on the pitches. It's just very tough to tell because it's not in the same booth as us. But the Larks currently have a mound meeting going on as Keith Harper comes out. The Larks do have some guys warming up right now the way it looks. It's tough to tell because the Lone Star Kraken also have their players in that bullpen as well getting ready for their next game in a moment as they will take on the Seattle Blackfins after this game.
So I really like the Blackfins jerseys. I talked about those yesterday. Man, the Kraken's jerseys, those are real cool looking. They've got a purple jersey with teal numbers. I mean, that is pretty cool. I haven't seen colors like that before on a jersey, and I commend them for being bold there and coming out with some pretty good-looking jerseys there in the Larks bullpen.
And they're just T-shirts, too, so that's a pretty good design, though.
From here, they look like jerseys to me, so I can't tell any difference. Got another little factoid for everybody here on our broadcast. If you look out to dead center field, and obviously those listening in, you can't see dead center field, but you see the Nike logo on the wall out there in between the 390 and the 375 and right center field. You notice how it looks newer than the rest of the outfield. Wichita State just signed with Nike. They re-signed their deal with Nike, so that's why that looks different on that design there on that panel. They used to be with Under Armour, now they're back with Nike, so it's kind of an interesting, not really related, not really important. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So
we do technically cover college baseball, so it's an interesting story to bring up.
Yep.
The count is 0-2 to the final batter in the order for the MVP, Brand Wilson. Bases loaded, 1 out. Watson kicks and deals, and a swing and a miss, and there is out number 2. Watson, his 6th strikeout of the summer, and first with the Hayes Larks.
And first of the NBC World Series at the 91st NBC World Series, I guess I should say. A much needed out there. Now he's just 1 out away from closing out this inning and seeing if his offense can put some runs on the board. They've got a lot of work to do.
The MVP are back to the top of their order, and on a pass ball, they score their 8th run of tonight's game as Connor Kavner scores from third and the other 2 runners on base advance. Four unanswered now for the Oklahoma MVP, and the count 1-0. Watson delivers, and it's outside for ball 2. We'll see where Watson puts this pitch to the left-hander. It's inside, and it's put in play over to Paul Smith. He will scoop up the hard ground ball and tag first base for the final out of the inning. The MVP were able to add their 8th run to the scoreboard this inning. And we are now going to head to the top of the 8th inning, where Thomas Lissy will lead things off for the Larks when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. In that last inning, the MVP had 1 run on 2 hits and leave 2 runners stranded in the bottom of the 7th inning, extending their lead to 8-3. We'll see if the Larks can mount their biggest comeback of the season here in the 3rd game of the day. As Thomas Lissy begins with a 1-0 count against the relief pitcher Carson Colbreth. Still in the game after coming in at the end of the 6th inning. Lissy has gotten on base twice tonight and has 1 run as well. He will take a swing at this next pitch, and it's going to be popped up in the infield. Russell's going to be the one that gets under it on the third base side, and he makes the catch for out number 1.
What I'll say to the Larks fans listening in back home, if there's any team in this tournament that can make this comeback, it would be the Larks. That they have the offensive capability to do it. They've just got to put their mind to it. I've seen it multiple times this season with this team where they find themselves in jams, and when they put their mind to it and realize that they are capable of doing it, I've seen them do really great things. So they are not out of this ball game by any means.
1-0 count to Paul Smith, the next batter up. He was part of that group of Larks that put together the 3 runs back in the 4th inning. The 1-0 goes to the plate, and on the inside corner, it's called strike 1. Very close inside, but you definitely saw the catcher, Hilton, you saw him move his glove to try to frame it, and it paid off. 1-1 on the way, fouled back into the net for strike 2 to the first baseman, Paul Smith.
There's certainly an art to framing pitches. As a former catcher myself, you're taught how to do that, and it really does help your pitcher out a lot in terms of opening up the strike zone a little bit for him.
Colbreth will kick and deal and puts it right down the middle, but this one's put in play by Smith, fielded by Russell, throws it to first base, and the throw is made in time for out number 2. Hutch Russell has been responsible for the first 2 outs in this inning, and the Larks will turn to the Wichita State Shocker Caleb Duncan to keep the inning alive. He got on base for the first time in his last appearance on an E4, and the first pitch is in there for strike 1. Current pitcher for the MVP, Cade Colbreth, is a freshman from Murray State Community College. Played in 12 games for the Aggies this season, and is one of the 21 players on this MVP roster from the state of Oklahoma. Here comes the 1-1 to the plate, and it's left outside for ball 2. Duncan, a right-handed batter, but the right side of that infield is still playing close to the grass for the MVP, which we've seen them done this entire game. Next pitch is down the middle for strike 2. Now Duncan has to fight back to try to keep the inning alive. Pitch is on the way, and this one will go into foul territory. And Duncan stays alive at 2-2. We'll see where the catcher positions his glove. He wants it low and outside, and that's where it goes, but it misses the zone, and it's going to be a full count to the center fielder. Here comes the payoff pitch from Colbreth, and this one's put in play, and once again Russell will field it, and he will throw it to first base, and it is in time for out number 3. 3 up, 3 down that inning with all outs responsible by the third baseman, Hutch Russell, and we are headed now to the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll be back in a moment. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. Eight to 3 is the score as we start the bottom of the 8th inning. And leading things off is Ashton Hartwig for the MVP as he fouls off the first pitch into the glove that then bounces out of LaRue's glove, starting with an 0-1 count in the inning.
The Larks are going to have to play some stellar defense here if they want to have any opportunity of bringing this ball game back. They've only got one more inning left to be able to try and get the bats rolling to at least score 5 runs in the top of the 9th. It's not looking great at this point, but still certainly not out of the question for this Larks team. We've seen them do crazier things in innings.
On the 1-1 pitch, it'll be hit to Caleb Duncan in center field. He's going to have to sprint to the ball, and he's there in time, running into right center field and making the catch.
Well, we need to get Caleb Duncan a smaller hat. If he's going to keep running that fast in center field, I mean, it flies off his head every single time he goes to get a ball. We've got to get him a smaller hat, something. Somebody's got to do something about it because this guy is just too quick out in center field, and his hat flies off almost every single time he goes to track down a ball.
Tanner Norman now comes up to bat. And he swings and misses at the first pitch for strike 1. Still facing off against the relief pitcher, Trey Watson, the senior right-hander from the University of Mobile. And his next pitch just misses down low for ball 1. And we say that he's a late addition to the Larks. He was actually also a late addition to the Denver Cougars as well because he only played in one game on July 20th, and it was because after he finished his season with the University of Mobile, he was signed to the Pioneer League in June playing for the Northern Colorado Owls.
He's been all over the place this summer, it seems like, for him, and seems like he's trying to take his baseball dreams to the next level if he can.
On the 2-1 count, this one's fouled back into the stands, into the upper part of them here behind, kind of right below us diagonally a little bit.
I'm still waiting for another fly ball to come up here into the press box. I'll be ready for it this time. Our last game, I almost had a souvenir. It came right to my hands almost.
Next pitch is on the way, and it misses outside for ball 3. One of us could be like that guy. I don't know if you've seen this video before. It was a college baseball broadcast, and he was in the booth. The ball just comes storming into his booth. He just puts up one hand like it's nothing and just makes the catch.
Got to be at the ready.
Payoff pitch is inside, and Tanner Norman is on base for the 3rd time in a row. Carson Miller now makes his appearance at the plate this inning. The left fielder from Coffeyville Community College here in Kansas has found a home at the Division II level with the Northeastern State Riverhawks. His first pitch misses up high for ball 1. The runner at first is Tanner Norman, who was walked just a moment ago. He takes a lead, but Paul Smith will cover the bag. And on the inside, there is strike 1 to Miller. It's an even count with 1 out, as the Larks need to hold the MVP this inning to give themselves a chance at a potential comeback. We've seen it in late game situations before with the Larks where they made the comebacks, but I don't believe that we've seen one in the 9th inning. We've seen 8th inning comebacks where they'll get a huge hit and tie the game up, but I don't think we've seen a 9th inning comeback yet this season.
Certainly not with this deficit.
And there is another strikeout for Trey Watson on the 1-2 count, puts it in the low part of the zone, and catches Carson Miller looking as he struck out for the first time tonight.
You know, despite all the pitching changes that have gone on in tonight's game, Trey Watson has really made quite a nice performance on the mound tonight, making his debut with the Larks in the NBC World Series with kind of a lot of pressure on your back here. He's done a great job so far. I felt like he's really he's had a nice outing on the mound.
He's only given up 1 run and recorded 2 strikeouts on the night and needs 1 more to end the inning. He faces number 13, Graham Hilton, the catcher for the MVP. The sophomore from Mustang, Oklahoma, has a half-hearted swing, and he goes around. There is strike 1. He'll show bunt, and it catches the low part of the zone. Trey Watson ahead 1-2 in the count against Graham Hilton.
I'm liking these counts so far from Trey Watson. He's showing a lot of promise for this Larks squad. Hopefully we can see him pitch a little bit more in this NBC World Series. See how he kind of does with this Larks team.
And the pitch takes a bounce before it gets to the plate. And there is ball 2. Hilton's already been struck out once tonight. That was back in his first appearance in the first inning. Overall tonight he is 0 for 3, and the only time he's gotten on base was through a walk back in the 5th inning. Here comes the pitch to the plate. This one will go over the head of LaRue and send the runner over to second. And that's going to lead to a full count. The second batter this inning that Watson will face against in a full count. The first one was the walk that got Tanner Norman on base. He is currently standing at second. Here's the payoff pitch. And this one's hit high into the night sky. Going into left center field is Caleb Duncan, and he makes another catch to get out number 3. No runs scored that inning for the Oklahoma MVP, but with the 5-run lead, they are 3 outs away from pulling off the upset. We will have the final inning for you when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We start the top of the 9th inning, and the Larks need 5 runs to keep the game alive. For the MVP, they're looking for their first ever win in the history of the NBC World Series. They will keep Carson Colbreth on the mound. He came in when there were 2 outs in the 6th inning, And they're going to keep him in the game as he faces off against C.J. Reed to start the inning with a 1-0 count. Reed in his third game as a Lark in the NBC World Series, second this season. He's reached base twice tonight and has a run. He starts with a 2-0 count in the inning against Carson Colbreth, throwing the fastball, slider, and curveball in his rotation. His next pitch just misses the zone for ball 3. This would be huge for the Larks right here with the 3-0 count to Reed if they can get a guy on base and no outs, even though despite the margin in the score.
Yeah, they need base runners. It doesn't matter how they get the base runners. They just need base runners right now. And they've got their work cut out for them here in the top of the ninth, to say the least.
The 3-1 goes to the plate, and here's a fly ball into left field, and this one's going to go out of play over the bullpen, and it's a full count now to C.J. Reed.
Well, it was a good-looking swing there from C.J. Reed. If he would have gotten a little bit more of a barrel on that ball, that would have definitely been out of the ballpark.
We'll see what pitch Colbreth throws as it goes to the plate. It's a fastball that's high and outside, and the Larks have their first runner on base this inning.
Base runners are going to be key this inning, and they have to make use of plate discipline. That's going to be a big thing this inning. They cannot be reaching for pitches that are way out of the zone. It's just, you can't waste attempts like that, especially in a game that's as close as this. Every out is valuable in a situation like this.
And with that runner on, the Larks go back to the top of their order as Lane Sparks comes up to bat. And the MVP are having a quick mound meeting right now, just trying to collect their pitcher as there were infielders that came in. Just try to make sure they're all on the same page, trying to get these last 3 outs. So Lane Sparks back up to bat for his 5th appearance of the game. He will watch the first pitch go by on the inside for strike 1. Both of his hits in tonight's game were doubles that came in the 3rd and 4th inning. One of those was the 3 RBI double that got the Larks their only runs so far in tonight's game. Reed taking a lead off first base, and the next pitch takes a bounce in the dirt for ball 1.
Well, I would not be surprised to see the Larks get a little aggressive on the base paths here if they can get a couple more base runners on.
Here comes the 1-1 from Colbreth, and this one's going to be popped up in the infield and actually going to go into foul territory behind home plate, and it lands on the table in front of some of the seats, and it keeps the count, or moves the count to 1-2.
That was extremely close to a fan. Thank goodness that didn't nail anybody. That was very dangerously close to actually a Larks fan down there, and thank goodness that no one was hurt in that foul ball there.
And it was close to a little girl, but this is kind of funny. After that happened, they were able to retrieve the ball, and she acted like it never happened. She's just happy to have it.
She is very happy to have the foul ball. I don't even know if it really dawned on her that the foul ball was that close to her. I mean, thankfully she was covered up and sheltered by her mother. She was in her mom's hands there, but man, that was pretty close there to her. But she'll have a nice little memory and souvenir to take home with her.
Foul ball goes back behind home plate. Another 1-2. The count will stay at 1-2 to Lane Sparks. The young fans continuing to try to track the balls down. But back to our action, still no outs. Sparks fighting hard, looking to get his 3rd hit of tonight's game. Here's the pitch, half-hearted swing. Did he go around? They'll look at the umpire, who's actually standing near second base, and they say that he didn't go around, and it moves the count to 2-2.
That was the right call. He was able to hold himself back just enough to where he didn't cross the front of the plane of the plate.
Here comes the pitch to make the count uneven. Sparks takes a big swing, and this one's popped up in the infield. Hill and Norman are there. It's going to be it's going to be Norman that calls for it. And he's got the catch for the first out.
Well, that's what the Larks cannot afford to do going forward here. They cannot be giving up outs to pop outs, because at this point of the ball game, you've only got 2 outs to give before this game's over. And so they've got to do all they can to get base runners and move base runners around the base paths.
Still just 1 out as Tabor Stokes comes up to bat. He's put the ball in play 4 times tonight and starts the count 1-0 on the pitch that goes to the outside. And still we're seeing Hilton, when he makes that catch, move his glove back inside to try to frame the pitch. Colbreth taking his time. He delivers the next pitch. Goes to his curveball, and it misses the zone for ball 2. He has a fastball that maxes out at 92 miles per hour, but looking at his slider and curveball, it's 15 miles per hour slower in velocity than his fastball. Another pitch misses the zone. It's 3 balls in the count for Tabor Stokes.
This is where Stokes has to be very disciplined. He cannot be swinging at pitches that are not in the zone.
Colbreth looking to fight back. Instead, he'll throw back over to first, and Reed slides back safely. Ten seconds left on the pitch clock as it goes to the plate, and it catches the high outside corner for the first strike of the at-bat. Reed continues to take a big lead off first base. And the next pitch just misses on the inside corner. And on ball 4, the Larks will have runners at first and second base. Still just 1 out. And now at to bat is Brady Kreitzer. He's come up big in certain games this season. Still the Larks slugging percentage leader, entering this game at .814 on the year. If you need a big hit from him, now's the time. And now a mound meeting is going to take place, and it looks like that that MVP is going to go with a pitching change. So we'll step away for a moment and see who they bring in just a moment. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. The MVP need 2 outs to beat the Larks, and they will make a change on the mound to do so as they bring in the freshman right-hander from Central Oklahoma that was a redshirt for the Broncos this season. It is Grayson Barnes. He was added to the MVP's roster after playing this summer with the Oklahoma Lookouts. He starts with a 1-0 count against Brady Kreitzer, the Larks slugging percentage leader.
Well, Brady is going to have to come up big here for the Larks. They need something to get some base runners in to home plate to get a couple more runs on the board and boost their confidence a little bit.
Next pitch goes high for ball 2. The Larks have 2 runners on. It's C.J. Reed at second, and at first is Tabor Stokes. Both of them were walked. And the Larks need 5 runs to keep the game alive. Here comes the 2-0 from Barnes, and it's a swing and a miss for strike 1. Barnes was a redshirt at Central Oklahoma this last season. Before being a part of Central Oklahoma in his freshman season, he played his high school days in Tuttle, Oklahoma, where he was an all-state pitcher and 4A All-Star, and he was also part of Tuttle High School's 2023 state championship team. 3-1 count with 1 out to Brady Kreitzer. If he gets on, the Larks will have the bases loaded and bring up their designated hitter, Wilbert Espinal. And he swings and misses at that one on the high outside corner. 3-2 now to the senior from Hays, Kansas. The 2 trying to battle. Here comes the payoff pitch. Using the fastball, it's up high, and the bases are loaded for the Larks.
Leave it to the Larks to make it come down to the wire, man. There's just no other way to say it. This is going to come down to the wire. They've only got 1 out on the board here. They've got Wilbert Espinal up to the plate. He's the guy to do it. He's the guy you want up at the plate right now, hitting in that designated hitter position. We've talked about it before this season. He's that guy that will give you that extra bit of energy that your team needs, that extra spark. And if he can deliver right now, that would be huge. Even if it's just a base hit that scores 2 runs, that's going to be all the Larks need to really spark them into potentially making a comeback here.
Espinal has been walked 3 times tonight, so we'll see how the pitching approaches this. He was 2 for 5 in yesterday's game, but you remember at the end of the regular season, both of his home runs came in those final 2 games. So we'll see if he has some magic up his sleeve. After him, it'll be Dylan LaRue, Thomas Lissy, and Paul Smith. Here's the first pitch on the way, and it catches the inside part of the plate for strike 1. Espinal steps back into the box awaiting the pitch. And Barnes will deliver. This one's a deep fly ball into center field. Hartwig will run up on it, trying to track it down as he stands on the Woo Shock logo at center field. And he makes the catch and then throws it in. C.J. Reed was actually running home and then stopped midway on the base path and then goes back to third base.
I'm actually a little bit surprised C.J. Reed didn't just run it in there. I thought C.J. Reed would have had plenty of time to get back to home plate. I mean, it might have been a little close, but I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't have him run that in there, just considering it would have freed up third base to allow the Larks to shift over and prevent that force out on second and third.
Here's the first pitch to the next batter, Dylan LaRue. It is called ball 1, and for a moment there, Hilton lost the ball behind home plate, but it didn't roll very far, so there wasn't a chance for C.J. Reed to go home. The count is 1-0 with 2 outs.
Well, it's do or die now. LaRue's got to come through for the Larks if they want to stay alive in this ball game.
Next pitch goes inside to Dylan LaRue, standing in the left-handed batter's box, and the count moves to 2-0. LaRue's gotten 23 RBIs in his last 13 games and is staying alive as the count is now 3-0 and the bases are loaded. If he walks, he would bring a run home, and then Thomas Lissy is up to bat next. He only has 2 home runs on the season, but he can bring some power to the plate and bring some runs home for the Larks if it gets to that opportunity. And there is ball 4. Dylan LaRue will walk, and the Larks have run number 4 of the game, their first since the 4th inning. Bases are loaded, down by 4, 2 outs.
Well, it's time now. The Larks faithful are all, they're making some noise down there. They're showing their support to the Larks, and this is the moment for Thomas Lissy. It's go time for Lissy.
We'll see what the incarnate word Cardinal can do. His first pitch is in the zone for strike 1. Lissy's 1 for 3 on the night. He had a single, and he was also the first run of the game for the Larks.
Keep in mind, Thomas Lissy is the game-tying run at the plate right now.
Reed takes a big lead off third base. Correction, that is actually Tabor Stokes, and now the count is 0-2 as Lissy watches another pitch go by. Larks down to their final strike as they're also down to their final out. And there's going to be a balk called, and now the Larks have another runner going home, and it's Tabor Stokes that will score. And now that you're down by 3, there's 2 runners in scoring position at second and third.
There's less pressure on Lissy now. He just needs a single to left field or even to right field for that matter. If he can single, it keeps this ball game alive. He's just got to get on base here.
0-2 count. The Oklahoma MVP fans will clap along. And here comes the pitch. This one's a fly ball into right field. Wilson will run up on it. This one's going to drop, and that's going to bring 1 run and 2 runs home for the Larks. A 2 RBI single for Thomas Lissy, and it's a 1-run game here at X Stadium.
Oh, baby. It's getting real here at X Stadium. Thomas Lissy coming up big. Hits a little blooper single into right field. You'll take it. Any day of the week, you're taking that. And now it's go time for the Larks. They've got the go-ahead run at the plate. This could be pretty big implications here if they're able to score Paul Smith, who's got it all on his shoulders right now.
So it's all going to be relied on to the junior from Flower Mound, Texas. Smith entered this game with a .308 average. He's got 1 hit on the night. And we'll start with an 0-1 count as the first pitch catches the inside corner. And once again, Grayson Barnes going back to his fastball, which goes from anywhere from 85 to 87 miles per hour. Barnes will take his time, deliver the pitch, and it will go inside. Smith watches it go by for ball 1.
A good eye there from Paul Smith. Was able to keep his eye on that ball and didn't swing at anything that wasn't there.
Here's the pitch on the way. This one's a fly ball into center field, and it looks like Hartwig's going to get to it, and he drops the ball. Thomas Lissy's going to head for third base, and he will stop right there. Oh, my goodness. How can you draw that up? Hartwig was right there to make the play, put his glove down in an underhand position, and he missed the catch.
I thought they were going to send Thomas Lissy home. I thought for sure they were sending him home on that play. I mean, that's a risky move no matter how you look at it, because now you risk that you don't get the base hit, and now you go out thinking, oh, what if he made it? But at the same token, what if he gets thrown out at home and that's how the game ends? There's just such a double-edged sword there. Now, the go-ahead, the tying run is 90 feet away from home plate. This is nuts.
Caleb Duncan is up to bat. We'll watch the first pitch go by, low and outside for ball 1.
Well, if there's anybody I'd want up at the plate in this situation, I think it would be Caleb Duncan, only because of where we're at right now. He knows this ballpark like the back of his hand.
Barnes delivers the next pitch, and it misses down low for ball 2. Now, if Duncan walks, it'll bring C.J. Reed back up to the plate for the second time this inning.
They just need a base hit here to keep them alive in this ball game.
Another pitch misses up high. 3 balls in the count to Caleb Duncan.
He's got to make this one be there, but there's a really good chance this one's going to be left right over the middle. Whether to swing at that or not, that's a tough question.
Here comes the pitch. It is high, it is outside, and with it being a one-run game, the bases are loaded, and there's 2 outs.
They are stressing me out right now, but boy, I love it. I love every second of it right now. C.J. Reed back up to the plate for the second time this inning, and the Larks faithful are on their feet. They're loving it.
And for the 4th time tonight, it looks like a change is going to be made for the Oklahoma MVP on the mound. We'll see who they're bringing into the game. He's currently making his way out. He doesn't have the number on the front of his jersey, so we got to wait for him to turn around. Can't quite tell who it is right now, but we'll go to commercial break, and we will have the conclusion of tonight's game for you when we come back. The Larks have put up 4 runs this inning, need 1 to tie it and 2 to take the lead. We will have the conclusion of tonight's game for you when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. There are 2 outs. The bases are loaded. And up to bat for the Larks is a pinch hitter for C.J. Reed. It is Jackson Babcock. He has been the hero before. Can he do it again? We will find out as the first pitch goes in, and it's strike 1. He is facing a sidearm pitcher, number 37, Nathan Fisher. And that one is high and outside for ball 1.
This is such a difficult situation for Jackson Babcock. Being able to hit off of a pitcher like this is so hard because of the way the delivery comes out of his hand. It's so hard to read the pitch.
Here is a fly ball that's going to go into foul territory and move the count to 1-2. And the Larks are going to be down to their final strike.
That wasn't a bad-looking swing there. I don't mind that take at all from Jackson Babcock. That had a very good shot at landing into left field there.
MVP fans will once again clap along to help out the sidearm pitcher from Bixby, Oklahoma, Nathan Fisher. He puts another one high and outside for ball 2. Fisher's a freshman at Northeast Oklahoma A&M that used a medical redshirt in 2024 and played his first season this year. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and this one's going to be fouled back and out of play. Jackson Babcock staying alive as he is the pinch hitter for C.J. Reed, who started this rally with the first run of the inning.
It's a great read there from Jackson Babcock. He knew he had to swing at that. That was going right into the zone.
Here's the pitch. It is low. It is inside. It is a full count.
I'm surprised Babcock didn't lean into that pitch. He could have gotten a hit by pitch there and drove the runner on third home.
It's all or nothing on this pitch for the Hayes Larks. Full count, 2 outs, 1-run game, bases loaded. Lissy is the tying run at third. Here's the pitch. It is high and outside, and it's a tie game. Thomas Lissy will come home on a walk from Jackson Babcock, and for the first time since a 0-0 start to this game, we are tied.
If you would have told me that it would have been a tie ball game in the top of the 9th inning after trailing by 5 runs going into the top of the 9th, I would have called you crazy. But when you put Jackson Babcock up to the plate against any pitcher any pitcher, that guy is able to just attract walks like a magnet. I don't know what it is, but, man, he has such great plate discipline.
The Larks were down 8-3 at the start of this inning. They have put up 5 unanswered. And now the next run would be the go-ahead. It's an 0-1 count to Lane Sparks and make it 1-1 as he leaves that one up high against Nathan Fisher.
Well, Sparks has struggled a little bit in this game, and he's been a little bit in his own head. He's had a couple calls at the plate that he didn't quite agree with. Now's the time to break that slump.
1-1 pitch. This one's going to be popped up. This one will land out of play and land on the stairs. As once again, it's a Larks fan coming in and retrieving the ball, but the count is now 1-2. Nathan Fisher only throws a 79-mile-per-hour fastball as a sidearm pitcher, and another one gets fouled back into the net, keeping the count at 1-2.
That's the trade-off that you have when you throw the way that he does, is you kind of trade off the delivery for power. It's harder to read, but you don't get as much power behind the ball.
And he has a changeup and slider that both go into the upper 60s. His curveball only goes 57 miles per hour, and there is ball 2. That one just barely, and I mean barely, missed the zone.
The catcher couldn't believe it. Lane Sparks knew it wasn't there, and that was great plate discipline from him. That could have easily been called a strike.
It is an even count, 2 balls, 2 strikes to the right fielder from Wharton State Community College. Another one on the outside corner. We are once again faced with a full count. A strike ends the inning, and the MVP will get a chance to respond. A walk, and the Larks will have their first lead of tonight's game. Here's the pitch. It is outside, and the Larks have their first lead. Crossing home plate is Paul Smith.
This all comes down to plate discipline. Not a single time this game, at least not this game, but in this inning, have the Larks hit a base hit to drive in a runner. Not once. Not once. Every single one of their runs in this inning that have been very crucial runs, here at the end of this inning, I guess I should say, have all been from walks. Every single one of those crucial runs. So plate discipline is half the battle for these batters up the plate, especially when you're versing a pitcher like him that's throwing really difficult pitches to read. Being able to have that discipline at the plate is so vital.
There's another meeting being taken place by the MVP, and I think they just made a pitching change because Fisher just went to the dugout. So we're going to take another commercial break, and we'll see who the new pitcher is when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. We welcome you back to X Stadium as we're in the top of the 9th inning. The Larks entered the inning down 3-8 and have put up 6 unanswered runs to gain their first lead of the night. And there's another pitching change here for the MVP. They had Nathan Fisher, the sidearm pitcher from Bixby, Oklahoma, into the game. And now they bring in their shortstop to pitch. That is number 6, Rainer Bean, the high school senior from Wright City, Oklahoma, who is a Murray State Community College commit.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised they're putting him on the mound as opposed to an actual dedicated pitcher. I'm wondering if they've run out of pitchers tonight. That's a possibility. I don't know how deep their roster runs in terms of their pitching staff.
Tabor Stokes will lead off the inning against the new pitcher. and he'll hit a fly ball, and it's going to be popped up in the infield. Making the catch is the second baseman, Eli Hill. 1-run lead for the Larks. 3 outs will get them the win and guarantee them a spot in the 2025 NBC World Series bracket. We will have the final inning for you when we come back. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. With the Larks being 3 outs away from securing the victory in an improbable comeback, they will make a change on the mound to do so. Julio Ramos will go for his 3rd save of the season as he faces off against 6, 7, 8 in the order for the Oklahoma MVP. And the first pitch is fouled back for strike 1 against Connor Kavnar, number 19 for the MVP. He is a freshman from Johnson County Community College that was a redshirt this year. He got on base 1 time in the MVP first game against the Lone Star Kraken. Ramos delivers the next pitch, slowing down his motion and delivers it right down the middle. The count is 0-2.
Well, you know the Larks mean serious business when they put Julio on the mound. He is their closer. That is his designated role for this Larks squad, and he fills that role so well. And, man, I just love watching this guy pitch.
Using his fastball, it's a swing and a miss, and there is the first out of the inning. Strikeout number 47 on the year for the New Mexico State commit, Julio Ramos.
Well, I watched Julio run out from the bullpen, click his heels once as he ran out to the mound. It's kind of his pre-pitching ritual. Keeps it fun and lighthearted, but, man, he's out on that mound, and he looks like he means business in this inning.
Now up is Hutch Russell, and he gets a single into right field as Lane Sparks throws it in. The tying run is on base for the Oklahoma MVP.
Well, that's what the MVP needed. They needed a base runner. They needed a base runner. They needed at least one that can really get aggressive. We're going to see this guy. I guarantee he's going to start stealing bases here in just a moment.
He has 4 hits on the night. All of them have been singles, but he's only crossed the plate once. 1 out, Eli Hill, the next batter. It's the second baseman for the MVP from Oklahoma City, starting with a 1-0 count.
Oh, man, that was really close there. Julio Ramos almost found the outside corner of the zone there. That would have been a great way to start the count.
Eli Hill had a 192 batting average this season at Oklahoma City. He will pop this one up. We will see if Paul Smith can track it down in foul territory. It's actually the catcher, Dylan LaRue, that comes in. He's got the catch for out number 2.
2 down, 1 to go for the Larks here. They are at a crucial point of this ball game, and, man, if they turn this around, that'll be something else if they can pull this one back together. I didn't think they had any chance going into the top of the 9th, and by golly, they pulled this game back together. They've got a 1-run lead, and Julio Ramos looking to take care of business here on the mound.
1 out, and it's the 9-hole batter that Oklahoma will rely on to keep the game alive. It's Brand Wilson, Starts the at-bat with a 1-0 count. He's another player that has just one base hit in the game for Oklahoma. And we mentioned he has faced the Larks this season because he was added to the MVP from the Liberal BJs. And with a swing and a miss, he's now down 1-1.
His pitching coach over there on the third baseline kind of pushed his hands down to the ground, telling him to calm himself down a little bit. I'm seeing maybe a little bit of nerves out of him here at the plate.
Ramos kicks and deals. This one will be fouled back and actually goes off the front of the media section of the press box, and a fan makes a catch.
That was a pretty incredible catch there. He just flipped around and just barehanded that sucker.
Too bad this isn't banana ball. There's still one more strike needed for the Larks.
Man, if it was banana ball, I'd be jumping up and down in this press box right now.
The Larks fans have all risen to their feet. One strike for the win. Here comes the pitch from Ramos. Swing and a miss, and the Larks complete the comeback. The Larks get their second win of the 2025 NBC World Series. Coming back from down 8-3, they stun the Oklahoma MVP and win by a final score of 9-8 to secure a spot in the bracket play of the NBC World Series. Unbelievable.
A 5-run comeback. Are you kidding me? In the ninth inning, they score 6 runs to bring this one back together. That is absolutely nuts. I mean, absolutely nuts. This Larks team showing their grit tonight. I mean, that's the only way to put it. They didn't give up going to the ninth inning. They were trailing 5 runs, and they pull this back together. Incredible performance from this Larks team.
Win number 30 on the season for the Boys of Summer from Hayes, America, and Frank Leo standing on the third base line to high-five them. They complete an incredible comeback, and the player of the game is Thomas Lissy, showing him on the Jumbotron in left field. What a night to be a Larks fan. They complete the comeback and have a spot in the bracket play. And we will have our post-game show coverage for you up next. You are listening to the NBC World Series on the Larks Network. The Larks the Larks players are currently getting congratulated by the fans who made the trip down to Wichita to witness an unbelievable comeback. The Larks entered the ninth inning down 3-8, put up 6 unanswered runs, and with the help of Julio Ramos coming in from the bullpen and getting his 3rd save of the year, they get the win and have 2 wins in the NBC World Series and 30 on the year.
Well, if that I haven't been around as long as the Larks franchise has been around, but if that doesn't go down as one of the greatest comebacks in the franchise's history, I don't know what does. I mean, that was incredible, to say the least. 5 runs. They were down 5 runs in the top of the ninth inning, and they pulled themselves back into that game by just a miracle. That's the only other word I can use to describe that. It was a miracle. they had 2 outs on the board and still needed to drive in a couple runs, and they still managed to do it. The determination and grit from this team, even after the Oklahoma MVP put in their sidearm pitcher into the ball game, they still managed to hold their composure and pull this game back together.
And so many players can be credited for this performance. Obviously, the pitching rose up with Trey Watson holding the MVP and allowing the batting to take over in that final inning. Julio Ramos comes in and, like I said, gets his 3rd save on the year and does what he does best, finds the strike zone and lets his game do the rest. Just an incredible performance for the Larks. And we take a look at some of the individual stats. Lane Sparks, 4 RBIs on the night. We also saw 3 different Larks players cross the plate twice. That would include C.J. Reed, Paul Smith, and Thomas Lissy. Just an overall round great team effort for the win.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. A team effort it was. And some wise words that I had it was a Little League baseball. Actually, it was my soccer coach. I guess I can attribute it to him who made this kind of trademark statement that he would always tell us. He would say, good teams win games, great teams win ugly games. And, I can't say this was a pretty game by any means. There were points in this game where this was not the Larks team we'd seen all season long. I didn't know where the offense had gone. The offense was completely gone. And it just seemed like this team was so in their head. And they get into that 9th inning, they had nothing to lose, and they go up to that plate, and they just put together the 9th inning of a lifetime. And it was a great performance from their team. They showed some real grit and determination, and props to the Larks organization for that. And Coach Frank Leo, I'm sure, was a big factor in being able to encourage his guys to keep going. And putting in Julio Ramos at the end of that game to close that one out was just it was phenomenal performance on both sides of the field in that 9th inning especially.
And with this win, the Larks now have a guaranteed spot in bracket play regardless of what happens in their final pool play game. If they get the win, obviously they will have the first round bye along with the other 3 pool winners. Just with these last few games, like we talked about in the pregame show, the Larks have always dominated their opponents, and then in games like this where it goes down to the wire against the Seattle Blackfins, and then you have to put together an improbable comeback against the Oklahoma MVP, it's going to be fun to watch the Larks in bracket play regardless of what happens in that final game of pool play.
Oh, without a doubt. And, the last game of pool play certainly still matters for this team because this could decide whether or not they get a bye in the first round or they end up having to play somebody in the first round. And so this last game does matter, but at the same token, they're guaranteed a spot in bracket play, which has got to be a relief for this team, knowing that they're going to be able to continue their run into this NBC World Series.
We'll take a look at a quick few final team numbers. Even though the Larks won 9-8, the MVP out-hit the Larks 13-6 tonight. And taking a look at the pitching, the Larks finished with 9 strikeouts on the night, and for the MVP, they finished with 7 strikeouts on their pitching. And those are our final numbers. And again, we'll take a look real quickly at the NBC World Series scoreboard. We mentioned the games from earlier today. And now the next game tonight at 8:30, was scheduled for 8:30, that is, was the Seattle Blackfins and the Lone Star Kraken. That is coming up next. We are currently in around-the-clock baseball, so we're going to have games stretched from 12 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. tomorrow night. So for the Larks, their next game is going to be at 8:30 on Monday night. They will take on the Lone Star Kraken for their final game of pool play. And looking at the MVP, they need to get a win, and they also need some help from the Lone Star Kraken if they want a shot at bracket play, as they will take on the Seattle Blackfins in the first game on Monday at 12 p.m. So that's going to do it for our coverage of tonight's game as the Larks pull off an improbable comeback, defeating the Oklahoma MVP by a final score of 9-8. The Larks are 34-1 now on the year, and for the MVP, they're 0-2 in the bracket play. And that's going to do it for our coverage of tonight's game. So thank you all for tuning into tonight's broadcast. I'm Hank Corsair, and alongside me tonight was Eli Blankenship. We hope you all have a great rest of your night.